Gap. This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
Look, I think the best phrase is simple. It ain't working.
The Mark Reardon Show.
All of this woke world that we're living in right now is not working.
Why are you guys bullying me?
Mark Reardon.
Say, presidents can't do much.
I'm done. Do what you want. Pull the plug.
This is the Mark Reardon Show.
Well, good afternoon. The first Reardon Roundtable of 2025 is about to unfold here on 97.1 FM Talk. Let's say hi to Sue Thomas first and foremost.
Hi.
Hi, Sue. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Ready for Friday?
I am.
Missed her.
Woohoo! Thanks, Jane.
Yeah, Jane, we have not seen you in a few weeks because of the break. How are you? Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas, all that stuff.
Yes, Happy New Year. It's a great new year.
Well, we have a lot to talk about. Former State Senator Jeff Smith is also with us in the studio this afternoon. Jeffrey, how are you?
What up? Happy New Year.
Good to see you. And then Nick Schroer. I haven't seen Nick in a while. State Senator, who is also going to hang out and join me in the 5 o'clock hour. Nick, how are you?
Wonderful.
Hang on,
17 days
mic
to
on there.
a great new year.
Let's start with the most important story of the afternoon. No. It's not Mike Johnson becoming speaker. It's Snowmageddon, ladies and gentlemen. Is everyone prepared for Snowmageddon? So I'm seeing pictures, and we always see these from across the area, the Walmarts, the Schnucks, the Deerbergs. The people are going for the French toast items right now. The bread, the milk, the eggs are gone,
Go for the
Jane.
bourbon.
Thankfully, I have all of those items.
But here's my anticipation,
I need
and
ding
then
dongs.
we'll move on to Speaker Johnson. Yesterday, Sue, wasn't it at first? It was like 5 to 8 inches, right?
Yeah, it was 5 to 8. What is it now?
3 to 5. So it's going to be 1 to 2. No comments. You guys have dirty
Oh.
minds in here. I can already tell where you're going with that. But by the time we get to Sunday
Jane.
night, yes, exactly.
It'll probably be a dust.
It was.
Nick Schroer, it came down to the wire, and a couple of folks changed their vote at the last minute. Mike Johnson is the Speaker of the House, but it was a little contentious earlier today.
Yeah, it was very predictable, I think. There were going to be a couple people not voting for him, and I think guys like Chip Roy and some of the Freedom Caucus members were out there trying to get concessions. I think they're happy with the concessions that I heard that were made, especially with Doge and getting good commitments on overturning some of the stuff from the Biden administration. But Thomas Massie was still a holdout. I think maybe one more. But yeah, it's I would like to see somebody more conservative, but it is what it is. When Trump came out saying that he was going to be the speaker, that he was backing him, to me, I knew it was a done deal.
Well, and Chip Roy is actually on Fox right now talking about how, and this is where the American people who voted for Donald Trump, maybe not all of them, I know the economy was a big part of the election, but look, people want government to stop spending as much money and stop confiscating as much money, which those two things tend to not work out so well, because then you have your side saying, where's the revenue, Jeff? Where is all the revenue coming from, right?
Nick, you said you want to see someone more conservative than Johnson.
Absolutely.
That guy's so conservative. He had like a pact with his kid about not watching porn together, right? Weren't they like porn buddies or anti-porn buddies?
I don't know anything about that.
I don't know anything about that either. What are you talking about?
That was from when he was first, became speaker. That was part of the profile about him. But anyway, look, I think Democrats would be wise to not oppose Doge, and kind of do the blanket. We don't like Elon. We don't like Vivek. So we're opposed to this. I think that would be a stupid strategy. I think most Americans sense that there are places in government that are a little bit bloated, and that we should take a hard look at it. And typically, we've talked about this for many years, but typically when Republicans come into office, they want to spend more in the military. Democrats come in office, they want to spend more on social programs. I think Democrats should embrace this mission and say, hey, as long as we're doing this, we want to look at everything. Let's look at military spending too. And given the changes in kind of the realignment on the right, where you have kind of some of the new right, MAGA
There's
folks
an opportunity there.
that are willing to take a look at defense spending for the first time among Republicans in many years, I think Democrats should take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I've always been one that is willing to take a look at defense spending. The difference there slightly is that is a constitutional responsibility that we have. But look, there are areas that can be cut. The military-industrial complex is real, and it has been for a long time. And look, we benefit. Let's face it. St. Louis benefits from that, right?
We do.
Yeah. So, Jane.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jeff. I think it's very difficult to be against, streamlining government and making sure that they're using your tax dollars wisely. It's not difficult to go through the budget and look at these line items and say, bridge to nowhere, let's do some study about the ants and freedom. I mean,
The salmon, too.
the
Don't forget about
salmon,
the salmon.
look, I'm sure that there are things out there that, certain people's districts, they want them, and that's all great. But it's now you have to start defending the expenditures. And I think that is never a bad position for any politician, no matter what party, to say, we got to start defending the expenditures.
Well, that
now.
was one of the things that came up during the CR. I think a lot of people were saying, wait a second, we just voted for a little bit more responsibility in government, and you're putting out a 1,500-page document. Nobody's reading it, and it's got all these little nuggets in it. We don't like that.
It's called log rolling, and it's banned in Missouri, which is helpful. Is one, we have the balanced budget amendment, which forces
that's
them,
a big
and
part
that's
of it,
very
right.
helpful. And two, the log rolling, where you add everything related to anything on any bill, and then nobody
Right.
knows what anybody voted for or voted against.
Look, I think Democrats who fear that they're going to get flack from the left if they support streamlining government need to say to interest groups, if you look at the demographics of this country, Medicare and Social Security are both going to face deep cuts in the mid-2030s if we don't start acting on domestic discretionary spending. Or if we don't take a look at the way that those programs work. And so Democrats need to stand up, even to the left and say, hey, if you don't want things that you care about even more to be cut dramatically in a decade, then we got to start looking at everything now.
And that would be an interesting, position to take, because Hakeem Jeffries was out there. One of the things he said in the immediate aftermath of the vote is, we're not going to touch Social Security and Medicare. And Trump said that also. Here's the problem. They all say that because they want to get reelected. The problem is we have a pretty big crisis that could be looming, and there might be some things we can do about it, but everyone wants to kick the can. Look, Jeff, I've been talking about some of this stuff literally for 20 years, since the first Bush administration when it came to Social Security reform. Paul Ryan tried. He did. I don't have any confidence that it'll ever get done because there's no political courage.
Well, it usually doesn't happen until it's an absolute emergency. The last time it did was in 1985. The Greenspan Commission came.
That was a good year.
Basically, was that the year you were born?
I like
Yes.
that year,
Okay.
too. Was it
You
really?
were like a kid.
I
man.
don't
You're
even,
so
I mean,
young.
yeah,
I was
like,
about to
okay,
graduate
great.
from
Wow, I was
college.
in college, yeah.
But what they did was, they looked and they did a balanced package and got a bipartisan vote to delay the retirement age from 65 back to 67 and to do it 1 month at a time. If you do these things well in advance, then you can phase them in gradually.
Mm-hmm.
The longer you wait, the more draconian the cuts have to be.
And somebody
so,
has to bite the bullet,
Exactly.
and you will be run out on a rail for having done it.
So
but you need to do it kind of when there's divided government. Because if one party is in control of everything, they don't want to take the hit for it. So sometimes these big reforms work better when there is divided government, as there was in a lot of the 80s.
Former State Senator Jeff Smith, current State Senator Nick Schroer, and Jane Duker all on the panel. So we have members of Congress that are new to our delegation in Washington. Wesley Bell taking the oath, and also Bob Onder from your part in your neck of the woods. Nick, expectations for both of those members. I don't think that Wesley's going to be tremendously different than Cori Bush, but I'm hoping that he's going to keep the region a little bit more in mind moving forward. I don't know him at all. I don't know if you have any relationship with him, but I do know that
me in his commercials,
there's hope for Wesley Bell to be not as cuckoo and crazy, right?
Yeah, he's going to be a traditional Democrat. I think you're going to have some of the woke stuff that the right's concentrating on. I think he'll kind of be the bridge in between your traditional Democrat and the squad. I don't think he's going to be as crazy as Cori Bush. Probably a lot more effective, hopefully. But Bob Onder is going to go down there. He is far right. He is a good friend of mine. He is a constituent of mine, and I think he's going to resemble somewhat of an Eric Burleson. But I think he's still getting his feet under him right now. He went from a big fish in a small pond to now a very small fish in a huge swamp. So I think it's going to take some time. But yeah, expect him to be right in line with the guys like Chip Roy and Eric Burleson.
And he did, I checked with Bob yesterday. He did say that he was supporting Johnson. His comment to me was, look, I'm not happy with the way the CR worked out, but we have an opportunity to start on this agenda, and that's what I want to do. Thoughts on Wesley Bell, Jeff? And we're going to talk about Wesley related to all this other stuff, Jane, in a second, but Wesley and Bob Onder in Congress.
Hey, we're 14 minutes in. I haven't disagreed with anything Nick has said yet.
There's still time.
I think
it's a new year.
I think Wesley will be more of a team player. We had the infrastructure bill, which was like something Democrats have been trying to do for 50 years. And she was one of 4 Democrats that didn't support that. And that, cost this region, I think, some money in that bill, right? And so I think Bell is going to take a little more balanced approach and isn't just going to like be reflexively with the squad on things. And he specifically kind of ran against that approach to governing. And so I think he's going to be more of a consensus builder. We've already seen he got railed by the left for going into some social outings with the new congressman, from St. Charles, Bob Onder.
Bob said nice things about Wesley when I had him on last time.
Why are you bashing the guy for working with the other people in Missouri? Because we want them both to bring back money and bring back what we need.
That's what politics
especially when Republicans are in the majority, it's like you better be friends with them or you're not going to get much.
Right. But let's segue here, Jane, into what's happening and is very confusing to me in the prosecutor's office. And what happened today? Were there 2 prosecutors that were sworn in? I guess it was yesterday. Or was there just one?
There was just one sworn in today. Thank goodness.
Oh, today. It was today.
Yes. Melissa Smith got sworn in today as the first female prosecutor in St. Louis County, so good for her. She was the candidate everybody wanted. I mean, it would have been so easy for Sam Page to just say, we all agree on the same person, but no, he couldn't do that. So we had to go through court. We had to do, 2 courts, Court Van Osteren and the courts, in order to get this done.
Ooh, good point. And think about that.
So this was all a big, a huge expenditure of public dollars, having this brawl for no purpose. And then today he sent out an email calling on all county Democrats to flood the phones of the prosecutor's office and tell Melissa Smith to carry on with the prosecution and the quo warranto. This is how he starts. He starts the administration attacking the woman before she was even sworn in.
Jeff, help me out with what in the hell Sam Page is doing with this. What is her name? The clerk, right?
Oh yeah, that is.
Why
nonsense.
is she's being charged with a felony because she manipulated allegedly paperwork that was in connection with Dennis Hancock trying to hire his stepdaughter. Now, I'm thinking about this, and I try to do this. I really do, and you know me pretty well. So if I'm thinking about a situation that is exactly the same with that kook Lisa Clancy, can I come to a determination that, that's something that should be criminal or she should be kicked off the county board? I can't. I can't rationalize that behavior. It's not like there was some, manipulative and very, very evil thing that Dennis Hancock was doing. What was the crime here, and what is Sam Page doing? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like she did something totally awful, like lied about a postcard. She shouldn't be prosecuted with.
Well, Jeff, that's an excellent point as well. It is, and you were, for those people who don't know the history, but Senator Smith had that in his past, and you went to prison for it, right?
I did. But
it's a valid point thinking about the circumstances. I mean, I think this day and age, I don't think that would have happened, would it?
Who's
hard
to
tell.
Who's to say? But I would love to see county government not resemble kind of what city government has at times looked like, and
it's almost worse at this point.
Seeing, just kind of seeing the divisiveness on the council. I was hoping, I don't do New Year's resolutions, but if I did, and I don't live in the county anymore, but I would say, look, I just want everybody to
don't want to hear about the government,
to have a fresh start, and to get all the pandemic money out the door. That has.
How about work? Do your job.
Yeah, and there are some tough budget years, I think, coming, city, county, maybe at the state level, we'll see. But people are not going to have the luxury to paper over conflicts by throwing money around. People just need to figure out how to get along better.
But Sam, and you know these people. So even, like I said, Lisa Clancy, the Democrats on that board thought that this was ridiculous, this move against the clerk. Everybody thought that. So what's going on? What am I missing?
Person.
That's the part that I don't
know
understand.
What the end game is.
That's
so
my question.
Now you've ticked off the prosecutor before she's even taken office. I mean, she's getting ready to walk over to county government or to the county courthouse to get sworn in, and finds out that there is an email that went out to all Democrats against a Democrat, telling everybody to flood the prosecutor's office with phone calls.
So I think if you're Sam Page and you're coming up for re-election in 2 years, we've seen.
No longer facing the opponent in Jane Duker because she moved to the city, so that's a significant part of the equation. Go ahead.
But he's probably going to get a decent opponent, and the people who supported Jane have not gone away. They're still out there, and
You're referring to sane people.
The sane almost 40%. Yeah.
So I think it would behoove him. I think it would be best to get off on the right foot with the prosecutor, because public safety has been rated by most people in the region as the
most.
top issue facing the region.
Amen.
It's not, crime doesn't just stop at the city-county line.
And
right?
we're going to talk about that in the next segment, too, because there's obviously some things that even happened here this week. Senator Jeff Smith, former Senator Jeff Smith, current Senator Nick Schroer, Jane Duker, all on the panel. It's the first Reardon Roundtable of 2025.
You just call me, I come running to you, straight from the airport, cut through the customs line.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
I'll tell you what, we've got a couple of major issues going on the roads. One is an accident. Southbound 55 south of Rivas Barracks. Now, it's blocking the left lane, but it's in the construction zone where we already have the left lane blocked. So this has created a jam at least back to Weber Road. Now, the other serious delay we have is up north. It's road work on 270 in both directions approaching the Chain of Rocks Bridge. We've got traffic down to one lane and a serious jam. If you are eastbound, look for a jam back to, it's back past 367. If you are westbound, look for a jam back to 203. Now, that's the worst of it at this hour. If you are traveling into Illinois on one of the bridges downtown, it's okay. We did have an accident earlier, westbound 6440 past Big Bend, but it looks like they got that cleared at least to the shoulder. So if you are traveling in that area, there's just a brief slowdown, and then it opens up. Westbound 70 looks great out of downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Thank you, Sue. More of the Roundtable coming up. Let's incentivize you here this afternoon to get your home really, really clean with the help of my friends at Zero Res. They do great work here in the St. Louis area, and you can get 24% off all services right now. This is a great, great month to hire Zero Res. 24% off. That means off your air duct cleaning. If you need the vents cleaned out, get the dryer vent cleaned. That's something that's important. Zero Res has this amazing, very high-tech vehicle that they will pull into your driveway. It's got all these hoses. It's very space age. It will suck all that gunk out of your home and make your home cleaner. Then you get the carpets cleaned as well, and you're really, really going to be ready for the new year. 24% off when you mention my name or 97.1 FM Talk. 314-474-2020. The website's great. It's got all the information. Just make sure you mention the radio station or my name. It's a great event in the month of January with Zero Res. You spell it backward or forward, it spells the same.
Local news can come at you fast. Want the latest on what's happening in your backyard? Download the free Odyssey app. Follow your local news station, and you'll get alerts on the top stories making headlines in your city. You can stay in the know, no matter what you're up to, and be among the first to find out when news breaks. Plus, keep tabs on weather and traffic, so you're never caught off guard. To get started, download the Odyssey app. That's AUDACY, and follow your local news station.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Honesty, integrity, humility, purpose. We're looking for people that share these values. As an officer in the Springfield, Missouri Police Department, you'll train in a state-of-the-art facility, learn special skills, and most importantly, learn that being humble through it all builds a better community. Our next training academy starts soon. Work hard and dedicate yourself to the craft, and I promise you'll have some amazing opportunities. Visit gospd.com for more information. That's gospd.com. Brought to you by the Springfield, Missouri Police Department.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. Selling your home, every situation is unique. Find the best options that are right for you from the real estate team who offer more options. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
TexasHeat.com.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
The countdown to Inauguration Day is on, and 97.1 is your transition team headquarters. Every day one executive action. It's all here. Trump's second term is coming soon on 97.1 FM Talk. The battle is on. This is the Reardon Roundtable.
After we wrap up the roundtable, we have Sue's News in the next hour. Paul Hall on entertainment. Mr. Cusumano will join as well. Then Kilmeade at 5:10 this evening. He'll talk about Speaker Johnson and some of the other things happening in Washington. Jane Duker is on our panel, former State Senator Jeff Smith, and current State Senator Nick Schroer. So yesterday, I guess it was, it might have been yesterday morning, I woke up to a video that was sent to me by a local television journalist. And I won't name the name right now. And it was this video that ended up getting out there that Greater Downtown St. Louis put out virally, Jane, of what we saw happened at basically, I think it was 3 a.m. outside the Wheelhouse, which is only a few blocks from here. It used to be Joe Buck's, right?
Yep.
And it was ugly. And people were getting tackled. People were laughing. Then someone got shot and was killed by an off-duty cop. Have we heard, like, one word from the mayor's office about that by any chance?
No.
Like, nothing, right?
Nothing. I mean, and, these videos don't do well for the city of St. Louis. I mean, it looked like, again, we have another holiday in the city of St. Louis where there is anarchy and shooting. I mean, name a holiday in which that doesn't happen anymore. And look, if you want to blame the bar, blame the bar. I mean, they hired off-duty security because we certainly do not have enough police officers in downtown to actually properly police. So they're hiring officers from all over the state of Missouri to come. If there is a problem at that bar and 3 or 4, however many police officers that the bar hired isn't enough, well, then you have a nuisance problem. And, they've been going after gas stations, whatever. I mean, if this is a dangerous place, then you need to deal with that. And she just bragged about making it easier to get a bar license. And it's like, well, I'm not sure that, bars, 3 o'clock bars is what's going to turn the city around. I mean, it does not look like that's a great strategy.
Well, the behavior that you see, and look, I know alcohol is involved and everything, but there's people laughing. It's not, if I want to use the word that I would like to use right now, I'll be accused of being a racist and white supremacist, but it's an abomination. And the behavior is ridiculous and it shouldn't be accepted. And we see it all the time.
Well, they've been told for 10 years that this kind of behavior, that you're not going to be,
There's no consequences.
There's no consequences for this kind of behavior.
What's the difference comparing St. Louis to Nashville, Tennessee right now? You both have, bars that you can go out 3 a.m. If a fight breaks out in Nashville, Tennessee, I've seen it here recently. I didn't go to the bowl game, but I saw it here recently a couple months ago. Fights break out. Cops are right there.
Boom.
They separate everybody. You're back to enjoying Nashville, Tennessee. If a fight breaks out here, no cops are around. You call 911. You might see a cop in half an hour, maybe an hour. And until then, somebody's getting shot.
Mm-hmm. I was there 2 weeks ago for the weekend in Nashville. The thing that blew me away the most was just that there were 5,000 people on Broadway, at midnight, all just, having fun. I mean, you never kind of had that feeling of, looking around you to see if...
Did you feel a police presence, though?
Yeah, there was a police presence.
Yeah.
I mean, did you feel safe?
But I also felt totally safe because there were thousands of people in a 5-block area all outside. That's not even counting. That's not even counting all the people that were inside.
Right.
So it's just a completely
night and day difference.
And I hate to say this, but when I travel, and you guys we're all probably the same way. When we travel, the first thing you do is think about comparing it to St. Louis.
Yeah, of course.
I have not felt as safe in a downtown as I did in, just totally safe as I did in Nashville a couple weeks ago.
But, I mean, I'm exhausted talking about it. We talk about it literally almost every week. Downtown crime, right? In the situation, there's nothing that ever changes.
Well, they came out and said crime is down. What they don't want to admit is that the crime downtown is up. Homicides included are up. And this is just a terrible look. How do you expect to revitalize the city when your downtown is a crime-ridden, it looks like bombed out Bosnia down here. It's Friday afternoon. I mean, years ago, you'd be down here on Friday, you would see tons of people walking around. There were bars, there were restaurants. I mean, try and find a restaurant downtown right now that's open. I mean, we'd have to go blocks to do that. I mean, and so, this administration, this board of aldermen, they don't care.
But
and we need to
remember,
come to terms with
the
that.
incident that just happened first of all, I don't know all the details about it. You probably know more of the details than me, but that was apparently an off-duty officer intervening before a person with a gun used it on someone else
in the video.
Absolutely.
Right? And so instead of lamenting this incident as like, oh, this is more downtown out of control, we should be balanced here and say what happened may have stemmed
a much worse situation.
A much worse incident.
But that was a cop from I forget the place in Leadington,
town of
Missouri,
700.
which I don't even know where that is.
Yeah, south, like near Farmington.
Right. But I mean, so we have to hire the bar has to hire cops from hours away because we don't
that's about
have
90
proper
minutes away.
policing. Yeah, because we don't have proper policing in this town. You should be able now. If you're a nuisance business, again, I go back to that. But if you're not, you pay taxes, and you are entitled to have police presence to protect your business and allow you to run your business. That's not happening here. I mean, KSTK.
Yeah,
they're out.
Well, that was going to be my next point.
Yeah,
so
KMAV is left. KSTK
now. No one, they own that building too.
Yes.
So and they're leaving
and
after
they're moving,
77 years.
Right, and they're moving, and they haven't sold the building. And it looks like now, in the Business Journal, that they're going to move, I guess, near Oakland and Hampton.
Look, I mentioned that yesterday, Sue. Remember, wasn't there a
Highland?
TV station that was right over there at Oakland and Hampton before? Who was there? Was it Channel 30?
Was it Channel 2? Oakland at Hampton was Channel 2 for years.
Yeah, it's a little further down, but where the Highland, where those office buildings are, I think that's what they're talking about.
Hey, but that AT&T building sold for what, $3 million? We should be able to get the KSTK building for like $300,000, wouldn't you think? Nick, let's put an offer in.
I'm down. Let's go.
We can have our own studios over there.
Yeah.
Man, those people really took a bath on that AT&T building, didn't they? I mean, wasn't it originally bought for like in the hundreds of millions?
Yes.
Hundreds of millions. Yes.
Well, and then the city's trying to take over the Railway Exchange building, and they thought it was going to be like, I don't know, $3 or $4 million, and it's a lot more for the building now. So I don't know what's going to happen to their big grand plan that they were going to redo that, and the city was going to, fix it up enough to get some kind of RFP on it. So that plan has fallen through. I mean, downtown is in trouble, and no one is admitting it. I mean, our leaders are not admitting that our downtown is in deep trouble.
Well, we finally do have a leader, though, who's saying, I mean, Mike Kehoe, when I met him right after the primary, his priorities in mind mesh. And talking about the crime in St. Louis and how it impacts the entire region, if St. Louis succeeds, the state is going to boom. If St. Louis is going to continue on this path, the state is going to hurt overall.
So we are, what, 2 months away from a mayoral election? You'd never know it. You'd never know
Never know it.
Kara, you said we were talking about, I think you just said the only public official that said anything about downtown.
Kara
she did.
Kara is talking about it as well. She's going to be on the ballot. It's there's three major candidates. I'd say Michael Butler, Kara Spencer, and the incumbent mayor. And I would bet that the two people in the runoff and kind of the finals are going to be Spencer and Tashara Jones. She talked about it, and there was a response from the mayor's office, and it was kind of along the lines of what you guys had said, which is crime is down, murders are down.
Oh my gosh.
Never mind what you see. Don't believe what you see, okay?
Yeah, so
Don't believe your lying eyes.
Kara is out there talking about beefing up police presence downtown and hiring a lot of cops more broadly. With mindful of some of the numbers that Jane talks about on the air a lot about how few patrols there are many nights.
Yeah,
Former State Senator Jeff Smith is there. Current State Senator Nick Schroer and Jane Duke are all on the panel. Let's kind of shift to a couple of different cities, unfortunately. We'll go to New Orleans first, and we can talk about what happened in Vegas. Just an awful thing, and it was very, for me, it was a little surreal because I've been trying to avoid the news. Wednesday morning, I was watching ESPN because I knew I wasn't going to work that day, and they start talking about what happened in New Orleans, and it's just awful. You have, and it's one of the things that I thought of, Nick, maybe you can start the conversation here. This is a major terrorist attack. 14 people died, and we're almost desensitized to it because of all the mass killings and the shootings and stuff.
Yeah, it's unfortunate it happened. I think it could have been avoidable with some of the other nuances with it, but it's very weird to me when you compare what happened in New Orleans, what happened in Vegas. You got two guys that a lot of people said, hey, they were born here, they were raised here. They were on the same Army base. They rented
at different times, but
they rented an electric vehicle from the same exact app. It just doesn't make sense, and I don't know what to make of it. Now you have news reporters going through. I think it was the guy in New Orleans, his house, reporters through the House when you hear the FBI and everybody else discussing it's an ongoing investigation. We can't share these details. Something is up. I don't know what it is. But, you listen to some of these podcasts like the Sean Ryan podcast. He's got these former CIA operatives on who have said, hey, 2025 is going to be the year that the Taliban and terrorists that have been implanted, that have crept through the border, they're going to start homeland attacks in the United States. I hope this isn't the start of something that we're going to see all year. I hope these are just 2 isolated incidents. But we don't know. I mean,
you think all those things are coincidental? Like the because it's weird, right?
It's very weird.
The coincidence. Well, whether it's a coincidence or not, Jeff, do you think it's just a coincidence? I mean, it could be. There's 1.3 million people in the military, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think it's just a coincidence.
It could be. I don't know.
It's
here's what I said yesterday.
It's a site that a lot of people go to. I've rented cars from that site. I know a lot of people who've rented cars from that site.
I had never heard of it.
Yeah, it's not like that esoteric of a thing to do to lease from that site. I think it's just a unfortunate and sad.
Well, it might be. But here, the other thing, and Sue, we were talking about this yesterday. I did get some clarification. We were having a conversation. You heard references from some of the officials down there to the bollards, right, to the barriers, and I heard that they malfunction. I'm like, well, how does a bollard malfunction? Okay, I have an answer
they don't
for this.
go up
right?
and down.
There was actually, I'll give a little credit here
Capitol.
to the New York Times because they did a little good reporting on some of this last night. New Orleans first installed the metal security barriers along Bourbon Street in 2017, and they did it in reaction to what happened at Bastille Day in Nice in 2016. But those bollards, which are designed to block vehicles from crashing into buildings and pedestrians, were quickly jammed with Mardi Gras beads. So that's what the technological failure was. People were jamming Mardi Gras beads into the bollards, and that's why they weren't functioning. So then they went with this plan to try to fix them, and they are fixing them. They're trying to correct the malfunctions.
I heard that generally they were trying to fix them.
Well, they are. They're in the process, and
yeah.
I guess the due date was the Super Bowl, and you had the police commissioner down there basically saying the terrorists beat us. This is some breaking news right now that Jeff Smith, I'll ask you what you think of this. The judge in Trump's New York case, Judge Merchan, says finding no legal impediment to sentencing and recognizing that presidential immunity will likely attach once defendant takes his oath of office, it is incumbent upon this court to set this matter down for January 10th. So he's gonna actually sentence him on January 10th, a week before the inauguration. Is that what we're understanding right now?
That's what the reporting is.
So what's the point of that?
I mean, any sentence that is imposed obviously would not be served until after his presidency. I think it will probably not help Democrats politically because I think I think that no one should be above the law, but that's not, the American people made a decision about who they want for the next 4 years, and
didn't seem to be on their minds when they voted, right? No.
I think that Democrats' best posture, and this is getting a little bit far afield from what just happened, but Democrats' best posture should be, hey, where he's doing things that we like, we'll work with him. Right. And where he's doing things that are appalling to us, we'll oppose him. And
that should be the mindset of every politician. It shouldn't just be we're going to go in and oppose everything because we don't like you, or you're part of the Freedom Caucus, or you're part of the Democrat Caucus. I mean, if we have areas where we can agree, absolutely. I think that's what American people want.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember when Mitch McConnell said basically they were never going to give a darn thing to Barack Obama. That was ridiculous then. It would be ridiculous now for Democrats to act the same way.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think people are getting, I really do hope, I think people are getting exhausted.
They are.
And I think they are sick and tired of people who cannot act like adults and these purists who decide that they get to shut everything down just for the sake of doing it. And, because they want 100% of their way when they represent 1/10 of the population.
Well, I mean, that's essentially what happened today in the House. I mean, you had three people that were holding everything up.
Which was good.
It almost did, but it didn't. Right.
But it didn't. And so I think people expect to not hear about that.
So my view, Mark, is that he didn't pay for the things that he should have paid for. I think that the J6 cases should have gone to trial. His legal team did an artful job, a masterful job of delaying those things long enough to get him through the election. Yes. And now he's not going to ever probably, have to deal with that in a court of law. But just because I believe that doesn't mean I think that they should try to sentence him on a different case, which I think we're probably a little bit trumped up charges in New York. That was never the case that really I thought
that mattered.
That was really a consequential.
Well, that's where I think, Mark, to your point, I mean, were people considering this going to vote? I think yes, but it didn't have the impact like Democrats thought it was going to. I personally know a lot of people who were apolitical, and when they saw the lawfare happening, these trumped up charges, just indictment after indictment, they got pissed off, and they're like, look, I'm done with this. Yeah, I don't necessarily like the guy in their minds, but they're going to vote for him against what they saw the justice system becoming.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. Let me just take us quickly back to the terrorist attacks, and we didn't talk about Las Vegas. Jane, are you in the camp? Do you think that these are two completely separate incidents?
I am afraid to believe that they're just coincidental. I mean, it may end up being that way, but boy,
it's weird.
We have an issue, and we have an issue within the military. Because our soldiers are getting radicalized, and we don't know why. And
we need to find out why.
And we need to find out why. And so I really hope that whoever steps in there, that they, in fact, start looking at these issues, because we have some – I mean, look, there were mental health issues involved. At least with the first guy.
Yeah.
And, at first,
I think in both situations it would have to be.
But anybody who does this.
Well,
yeah,
absolutely.
right, exactly.
But I'm talking about, there were issues like what? He was getting divorced. I mean, there were a lot of personal issues that were involved. And so I was sitting there going, oh, but he didn't act alone. I go, well, if he's mad about his divorce, I bet he probably was acting alone. But, you just don't know. But I do think we have a problem. And if we have soldiers that are getting radicalized, and we have citizens who are getting radicalized, or college campuses are getting radicalized, I mean, we need to have a mental health check in this country.
And we have a behavioral health crisis in this country. We saw it came to the surface more during the pandemic, I think, than it ever has. But a massive percentage compared to 30, 40 years ago of people.
Look, it's a crisis, and
significant distress.
I don't know how to handle it. I've been very honest, because I've suffered from deep anxiety, and it got mixed with depression about 11, 12 years ago, and I got very lucky, got put on medication. And I was at a point in my life 30 years ago, I remember hearing people that were, depressed and they were taking medication. I thought it was ridiculous. And I do believe that exercise and good habits can certainly take the edge off a lot of that. In my situation, I needed the medication. I mean, I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I thought that my life was basically over. So I firmly believe, and I see this developing. Jeff, you got your daughter here today, and I have a daughter that's very similar to your daughter's age. And I'm very concerned about young people in particular. 60 Minutes did a story a couple years ago, and they were focusing on mental health for kids in particular. And they went up to Milwaukee, and I was there for a long time, so it kind of spiked my interest, and they had set up sort of a clinic, like a one-day walk-in mental health clinic, to try to do something different. I don't know what the answers are, but I think we have to get creative here. Right. We don't have enough professionals probably that can provide these services, but it's a crisis.
So to tie together a couple of different issues that we're talking about today, when I was in the Senate, I took 1 month and did a month of all-night ride-alongs with cops in the city, which totally kind of changed the way that I thought a lot about public safety. And my biggest takeaway after doing 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. ride-alongs for a month was that we have a behavioral health crisis in this city. The amount of pain and distress that pours out of people when they get in situations where cops are called,
police are there.
It was sobering in a lot of respects.
But it was supposed to be fixed. I mean, we're supposed to have social workers. They don't work overnights when people don't prevent their mental health crises at night. So, and the problem is, you can have a social worker show up, but if you don't have any follow-up services, having that social worker for 20 minutes at a scene where police officers call, the bottom line is, I don't think police officers have any trouble trying to, they've been trained for mental health. I think they know, but if they have nowhere to take these people.
That's exactly it.
And they don't.
It doesn't, and they don't.
Right.
It
Well, that's
doesn't
what I hear
change
from the cops
anything.
all the time. It's like
they see
I
the
wish
same
we
people.
could. Yeah,
They see
you
the
see the same
same
person
people
time and
over
time
and
again.
over
Even the
again.
guys that they have to hit with Narcan time and time again. It's like they need help.
Yes.
But we don't have any help to get them to.
Hang on, we got one more segment of the Reardon Roundtable on a Friday to go.
You're listening to the Reardon Roundtable on 97.1 FM Talk. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
We've got got just kind of a mess up north on 270, and it's because of road work. Westbound 270 traffic, IDOT is out there, and they're going to shift it to the new south span, and they've got a temporary crossover just west of the Canal Bridge. My point is this. We've got traffic down to one lane. East and westbound 270 headed for the chain of rocks bridges and bridge. Westbound traffic is jammed back past 203. Eastbound is back past 367. It is a mess. This has put extra volume downtown. So if you're headed into Illinois, there's more volume than usual from about Union Station to the bridge itself. Now, we also have a jam on southbound 55. There was an accident in the middle of the road work right around Rivas Barracks, and we've got a jam behind that. Now we've got an accident reported on northbound 170, kind of headed for Olive, just a little south of there. Look for some slow-moving traffic there. But westbound 70 looks great out of downtown, and 6440 westbound is fine as well. Just a little moderate volume out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Make sure your family is well taken care of with life insurance. Protect your phones, laptops, and more with electronic device insurance. And cover your furry friends with pet health insurance.
More of the Roundtable coming up. Let's talk about your nutrition. And I'm going to talk about a great multivitamin in Neovitin. And a multivitamin should really not replace a balanced diet. You want to eat fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, but you have nutritional gaps. I have nutritional gaps. We all do. And even our lifestyles are not always great. We put sunscreen on, right? We don't get enough vitamin D. That might be an issue. People didn't think about that 30 years ago. So you protect one thing and maybe you have a deficiency in the other. There's a way to fix this, and that's with Neovitin. It's a great multivitamin, and it's local, too, which is one of the things that I love. So you can buy these in stores, Neovitin multivitamins. They have different formulas for you depending on your age, but you can also subscribe, and they make it very easy. You sign up. They'll ship them to your door every month. You can cancel or pause at any time. Save money by doing that. Go to neovitin.com today. That's Neovitin, neovitin.com.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Monday, they're promising Snowmageddon, but we'll be here live along with Sue Thomas to get you to work starting at 5 a.m.
The Mark Cox Morning Show, weekdays from 5 to 9, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Reardon Roundtable on a Friday, the first one of 2025. Jane is here, former State Senator Jeff Smith and current State Senator Nick Schroer. Jane, a little breaking news for us on a topic that we talked about a little earlier on the show, right?
Yes, thankfully. So the criminal case against the county clerk has been dismissed. So that's thank goodness. I mean, that, normalcy has taken over again, and weaponizing our criminal justice system in St. Louis County has now been stopped.
Well, is that because Tim Fitch was on yesterday, former St. Louis County Police Chief, former councilman. He was the one who, when he left Dennis Hancock, took his position on the council, but he pretty much predicted this, that when Melissa was sworn in that she would get rid of the charges. Is that essentially what happened?
Yeah, I mean, look, we all know that all the top lawyers in the office said they refused to participate in it and said, we're not doing this. And so Wesley had to sort of commandeer the grand jury for a person who was not even a prosecutor. That's a whole nother can of worms. And so the prosecutors in the office would not participate.
It's just baffling situation. We hope it's taken care of.
Good for her.
Nick, the legislative session begins next week. weather permitting. What are your expectations with Mike Kehoe? We've seen dysfunction in the Missouri Senate. I don't know if you've noticed. You've been maybe a part of that a little bit in the past few years. You have higher hopes, don't you?
Yeah, I think, the conversations that I've had with him, the priorities align, and, we can talk about all the different nuances later, but he's one of a few that I know gets along, and very similar to me. Growing up in North County, I grew up in Ferguson. He grew up in Baden. So this area, this region is very important to us and our families and staying here for the future of our kids and grandkids. But, I've talked to him about kind of fixing some of these issues within the Republican Party, set the Democrats aside, and, just keeping up the conversation, dealing with it like in the business world or in the sports world, deal with the drama behind closed doors. And then when it's time to perform, all of that stuff should be ironed out. He agrees with us, and, it's talking a big game right now, but he's actually been in the building, was very helpful on a number of issues, on school choice, on the Police Officers' Bill of Rights that we passed a couple of years ago. He was very integral in getting that across the finish line. So I am very hopeful, and I know he's got good friends in both the Freedom Caucus and the regular Republican caucus, and even in the Democrat caucus. So I think if anybody's going to get some heads knocked together and get us on the right track to cut taxes, to pass school choice, and to protect everybody's life, liberty, and property in the city of St. Louis, I think he's the guy to get it done.
Any thoughts from my fellow Roundtable panelists who are on the other side of the political aisle?
I think.
You like Kehoe. Jeff,
do.
I think you like him.
He's a good guy, and he wants state control, and he wants board control of the police department. He understands how vital that is. So I think this will be our
Nick,
best
is that
shot.
something you think will happen?
I think it will.
Yeah.
He's got friends on both sides of that issue, and right after he won the primary, we were talking about that being a top tier issue for both of us, and we're closer now than we've ever been getting something that all the Republicans can agree to. There's still the issue of Carla May. Is she going to be in the Senate? Is she going to take an appointment? Is she going to be on an island trying to filibuster this thing all by herself? And is that going to be effective enough to kill this thing? I don't know. But I do think if it's going to get done, it's probably going to get done in the first couple months of session.
Jeff Smith, thoughts on that, and then just the new administration.
Yeah, I'd never underestimate Carla May. I think she's as loquacious as anyone in the Senate right now.
It's a good word. I like that word.
Yeah, I mean, doing 5 or 6 hours is no problem for her, by herself, and so she's got energy.
So just not to lose the audience, she could filibuster and try to make sure that doesn't happen with state control.
She could lead a filibuster,
right.
And she's well liked within her caucus. And I think there are a couple of Republicans that are not too keen on. That I wouldn't say not too keen on. I'd say that don't really see how the state taking over the police force, don't really see the logic behind why that makes things safer. I think there's some of them who say, hey, we need to beef up the police force. We need more cops on the street. Not quite sure how that why it's any different.
Well, that's understandable because
if the city is still paying for it. If the state says in exchange for assuming control, we'll fund 500 new police, then maybe that's
well. Look, Jane, it's confusing to me.
First of all, the city is already paying for 1,200 cops when they only have 800. Mm-hmm. So the city's already got the money budgeted. So they're not hiring cops because this administration, both the mayor and the Board of Aldermen, do not want to. Do you understand? They are defunding the police slowly and quietly. Instead of just coming out and saying, we're going to defund it, one, they are moving money over, and it's getting spent in other places. Last year, the police department gave back like $12 million. And we still need cops.
Okay, when you mention this in the budget hearing,
we need a board.
When you mention these in the hearings, the representatives from the city of St. Louis act like they have no idea what you're talking about. Right. You're showing them their own budget, where they're defunding the police, defunding patrol, deterring police from doing anything, and they just act like you have no idea what you're talking about.
But to Smith's point, but to Jeff's point, if you do state control, that's not going to clean up everything. It's still going to leave a lot of holes in public safety.
I disagree.
And let's not be dishonest about this. We all sat here 10 years ago and we supported local control.
Well, it was a different time.
I understand that.
Bad politicians require different policies.
And I still think it makes the most sense because I think that if you're going to solve crimes, you need people in the community to give information to cops. And one thing, just having represented most of North St. Louis years ago in the state Senate, a lot of people were skeptical because that was before local control. They were skeptical of a police force that they felt like was controlled from Jefferson City. And they, I think if you add on to that subsequently, cops are able to be hired in St. Louis City who don't live in St. Louis City, and so a lot of folks don't live here. And if you multiply the control being away from here, then you may reduce the likelihood that people cooperate with the police and give them the tips they need to solve
It's
cases.
complicated.
So
It
is complicated. As far as Kehoe, Democrats are not going to do, I didn't say this during the primary because I didn't want to hurt him, but Democrats are not going to do better than Mike Kehoe, a guy who's St. Louis born and bred and cares about issues in this region.
Jeff Smith, Happy New Year. Great to see you. Nick Schroer, haven't seen you in a while. You're going to hang out, though, kill some time. Don't get shot downtown. You're going to join me in the 5 o'clock hour. Stay alive, Nick. That's your goal.
Jane,
you're going to hang out, right?
Yes.
We're going to have some fun. Sue's News is coming up.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Couple of issues to mention on the roads. We'll start with the good news, and that is that crews have cleared the accident southbound 55 near Rivas Barracks. Now, of course, this was in the construction zone where we already had a slow go, so expect it to take just a minute here to unwind. We had a jam that went back past Weber Road. Now, the real jam is up north. We've got traffic jammed in both directions, east and westbound 270, headed for the Chain of Rocks Bridge. It's road work, and they're shifting things, and we've got one lane open in both directions. Westbound jams at 203, eastbound jams past 367. So then people drop to downtown to take that bridge into Illinois, and that's a slow go from Jefferson to the bridge. In fact, crossing the bridge to about Route 3, and the ramps split, and then things look better. And that's about it. Westbound 70 looks fine out of downtown. No real delays through there. And we look good on westbound 6440 if you're taking that out of downtown. This report brought to you by GL International Realty. Planning to sell your home? Well, work with the very best. Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty will guarantee to sell your home at your price or she will buy it. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, it's the start of a new year, and that's pretty exciting over at the Missouri Athletic Club. We just wrapped up the year in fine fashion at the downtown clubhouse with the Jack Buck Awards a few weeks ago, and it really is a great anticipatory time. One of the things that I got involved with the MAC about is helping with some of the philanthropic projects that they do. They have a children's charity that they always help out, several of them every year. We're in the process of picking those out for 2025, so I'll keep you posted on that. One of the really cool things that's coming up, I'm guessing it's sold out because I haven't seen any emails about it recently, but in a few Thursdays on January 30th, the MAC Boxing Championships, which is one of the biggest events of the year, will take place. And if you are a member, if you're interested in that, I would check now because I know tables were selling fast and furiously at the beginning of December. You can always find out more at mac-stl.org for the Missouri Athletic Club.
Your voice can be key to changing lives. That's why the American Cancer Society is calling on Black women from all walks of life to join Voices of Black Women, a groundbreaking research study led by the American Cancer Society and backed by more than 70 years of trusted cancer research studies and breakthroughs. The Voices of Black Women study is designed to better understand why and how cancer and other conditions impact Black women. It's a commitment to partnering with Black women to better understand their lived experiences. Learn more at voices.cancer.org.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Drury Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Drury Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Drury Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
The T.R. Hughes Homes for the Holidays display and inventory sale is going on now through the rest of the year. Hi, I'm Jason Hughes with T.R. Hughes Homes, and we have several quick move homes ready for immediate move-in. Save up to $50,000 on a brand new move-in ready home in one of our 4 beautiful communities. Come see why T.R. Hughes is St. Charles and now Warren County's premier home builder. Move-in ready, up to $50,000 in savings, just in time for the holidays. Visit trhughes.com for details. That's trhughes.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com. We have a Friday edition of Sue's News coming up here. Jane's going to hang out in the 4 o'clock hour. Paul Hall from Common Guy Films will fill us in on some recommendations for the theaters and for television streaming. We have Cusumano at 4:45. Brian Kilmeade coming up at 5:10. Dave Murray also in the next hour.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The president-elect to be sentenced. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. New York Judge Juan Merchan will sentence President-elect Trump on his business records convictions 1 week from today, saying he's found no legal impediment to sentencing the president-elect, and it was incumbent on him to impose sentence prior to the inauguration. The judge also said he'd impose a conditional discharge, meaning no prison time unless the defendant reoffends. The Trump team says this is a direct violation of the Supreme Court's immunity decision, and the Constitution demands that it be immediately dismissed. The statement continues, President Trump will continue fighting against these hoaxes until they are all dead. It was very close, but Congressman Mike Johnson has been reelected as Speaker of the House.
Our people are asking for a thriving economy and a rebuilt middle class and strong borders and a strong military, and we can deliver that. See, these objectives and these aims don't have an R or a D behind them. They have a USA. That's what we're about.
He promised to aggressively streamline the federal workforce. President Biden has blocked the merger of U.S. Steel with Japan's Nippon Steel, saying in a statement it would be a risk to national security and the U.S. supply chain.
President Biden says it is important we maintain strong American steel companies powered by American steel workers. Nippon Steel had promised to keep the name U.S. Steel and maintain a headquarters in Pittsburgh. President-elect Trump also said he would block the sale.
U.S. Steel has warned of possible plant closings should the merger not go through. The U.S. Army soldier who detonated explosives in a Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. The FBI revealing that Matthew Rivelsberger left a note behind saying this was not a terrorist attack, but a wake-up call for the country's ills. Wall Street up sharply higher Friday. The Dow up 340 points. NASDAQ gained 341. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Sunshine the rule as we go through our Friday afternoon. 34 for the high. Tonight, it's cold night, partly cloudy, 20. Saturday, some sun, but it's a day of increasing clouds, 32 degrees. Saturday night, snow, sleet, and freezing rain developing after midnight. Sunday, snow, sleet, and freezing rain throughout the day, 34. By the time it's over around midnight Sunday night, about 5 inches of ice and snow. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
I'm Chad Robinson with Your Money Now.
Sales of foreign phone brands in China plunged in November, according to official data that was released today, revealing further pressure on Apple. In November, foreign mobile phone shipments in China stood at just over 3 million units, according to CNBC, which is a yearly drop of more than 47%. The figures highlight the mounting pressure Apple is under in the world's largest smartphone market as it battles rising competition from domestic brands. President Biden is officially blocking U.S. Steel's nearly $15 billion acquisition by Japan's Nippon Steel, citing national security concerns. Shares of U.S. Steel dropped roughly 8% after the news. On Wall Street, closing out the week, stocks were higher, with the Dow up more than 339 points. The S&P 500 gained 73, and the Nasdaq grew by 340. That's your money now.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
Slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's Izervay.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
Ram-a-lam, ding-dong, ram-a-lam, ding-ding-dong, ram-a-lam-a-lam-a-lam-a-lam-a-ding-dong, ram-a-lam-a-lam-a-lam-a-lam-a-ding, ram-a-lam-a-lam-a-lam-a-ding-dong, ram-a-lam-a-lam-a-lam-a-lam-a-ding.
I heard this song over the break, and I decided it was a fun Friday song, so I'm airing it. This is Rocky Sharp and the Replays. It's not the original of Ram-a-Lam-a Ding Dong, but I do like it quite a bit. It's going to get stuck in your head. I've been, you know what we need, Sue? We need that little thing that gets the earworms out of your
Yes, the
brain.
earworm eraser.
Because,
where do we get that?
Well, it's like on YouTube.
Yeah.
You have to. Maybe
just
Ethan
Google
can
that.
pull that.
All right,
yeah,
gotta
It's
get
the
on it.
weirdest thing, too, when you listen to it. It really is weird, but it works.
Yeah,
I
it
should have
does.
had him put that in there because I knew I was going to play that song. Although the show for this hour started a little bit more abruptly than I was anticipating. Welcome to the 4 o'clock hour, ladies and gentlemen. All of a sudden the song was, I'm like, oh, I think it's my turn to talk. Sue is hanging out with us. Fred Bottomer, the Hall of Famer, and Jane Duker, who will be with us for this hour. Jane, we didn't cover this during the roundtable, but this is pretty important for your party in particular. Hakeem Jeffries, who is the Democrat leader in the House, right? He's the minority leader. He made a vow to the American people that I think is very important today.
We will fight hard for the freedom to vote.
Yeah, you heard him.
We will fight hard.
So congratulations, and
Well,
I hope he
mean,
keeps that promise.
Better out than in.
That will make a nice segue here for me. Do you know what a fartlek is?
I do not.
Okay, okay.
Do
hang
we
on.
want to know?
Yes,
It's
we
just-
do. We do, because this is the only reason that it's a nice segue is because I had that soundbite. I was going to do this story even without the reference to farting, but this was in the Washington Post, and we are all in that that phase right now where people go to the gym for like 4 weeks, and then they never go again.
Correct.
And one of the reasons, and I admitted this to someone today, that Sue is predicting, probably quite accurately, that my fascination with my new hobby, baking, will be short-lived is because, as Sue knows, she's gotten to know me, I'm an all-in or an all-out guy.
That is 100%.
Right, so I'm into something for a little bit, and then I'm gone, right?
Yep.
And the gym tends to be this challenge for me, and it gets frustrating because I feel like I need to get off my lazy ass right now and do something, but I can come up with every reason on the planet to not do that. So there is something that they do, and this isn't that complicated, I don't think, when you think about it, when I explain it, but it's called a fartlek, and it means speed play in Swedish. And what they're saying is that this is a way that people keep in shape. And it does make sense, so listen to it, Sue. It's essentially an informal version of interval training, right? So think of it this way. If I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to go run 3 miles. Well, if you haven't done that in a while, you're likely to run about 30 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to get very far. So what they say here is to start fartlek training, head outside, warm up for a few minutes at whatever activity you most enjoy.
Oh.
Maybe it's walking, running, biking, unicycling, or snowshoeing.
That's Fred.
That's right. You are a snowshoer. Pick
Love
a
that.
landmark ahead, right? It could be a tree, a colorful mailbox, or an unusual rock formation. Pick up your pace until you reach it, then drop back to your original pace. Let your heart rate and breathing slow. Look for another landmark. Vary the distance between these goals and aim for perhaps 30 minutes of fartleks once a week to start. So you go out for a half an hour. You do. I mean, I think a lot of people have done this. They've just never used that term before.
That is an official running term for
it is?
training. Fartlek.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Okay.
I do that whenever
I
we
didn't
do
know
like,
that.
if we do 5Ks. Marie and I will say, okay, I see a stop sign 2 blocks down.
Run
Let's
till
run
there.
till there.
Right.
That's it.
And then you stop and
Yes.
you walk a while. Then you pick another
Absolutely.
landmark.
And if you know you're not
and
running for like 5 miles, then
right.
you're more likely to continue doing it.
And by the
rather
way,
than stop
there is
altogether.
science. I've even seen some recently that shows that interval training really. I used to do this when
It
I
is
was on
great
the
for
bike
you.
quite a bit. It really
Yeah,
does.
it does work.
Like with cyclists in particular, you can go at a high speed and keep that speed, but you're going to benefit yourself if you're trying to get faster and more fit by going harder, and then you back it off,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And what they say here is, again, this isn't new. For generations, competitive athletes have used highly structured, intense interval training, usually on a track or treadmill. But I just never heard that term before.
Okay.
It's usually attributed to the Swedish Olympic decathlete and running coach Gösta Hallman, who
yes.
reputedly developed the concept in the 1930s after the Swedish cross-country team repeatedly were trounced by their neighbors, the Finns, during international competitions. The Finns were kicking their butts, and he's like, let's do a little fartlek training, and that's how they got back on track.
Lovely name.
Right.
Yes.
But don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, just remember this.
We will fart hard.
We will. We will fart hard into the future.
We need things to laugh at.
are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
I just need to say, Sue, that you have about a half an hour here since the show started about 5 minutes earlier
Yeah,
than I
that's
expected.
not great news
take,
for me.
Take your
'cause
time, Sue. Just roll through this at any pace that you'd like.
All right.
Wow.
It is National Drinking Straw Day. Huh? That's something.
Duh.
Well, I support straws.
Do you?
Strongly.
Okay.
Yeah,
What
and
is your
not the
thought?
paper
And
ones.
not the paper ones.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They
and
don't
we found
last.
out, and we found out that it didn't do anything.
Doesn't make
for the
any difference
environment.
anyway,
So
right.
quit tormenting me, and let me have my straws in peace. I even have glass straws now,
Do
trying
you?
to be
Oh,
good.
that's interesting. Do you like
Actually,
those?
Wait, is that safe?
Well, you clean
Well, you
them.
don't chew
Well,
them.
but I mean,
And you don't
well, what if
chew
you do
them.
chew them?
Yeah, don't
Well, you shouldn't.
chew them.
I don't
do it
chew
once.
glass.
Yeah,
Right.
right,
You'll
exactly.
do it once and you'll learn. Actually, I like them better. Everything goes through very smoothly.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it makes your lips cold because the glass gets
yeah.
cold.
That's interesting.
I am supporting.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I like the plastic or rubber ones I got somewhere. You put them in the dishwasher. It's great. Fred, what are your
Absolutely.
thoughts of straws? Are you a straw man?
I'm pro straw.
Yeah, I'm pro straw.
Yeah, we're all
but
pro straw.
I never really think about it much. I just
No,
don't
I don't
like
either,
the,
Fred.
I don't like the paper ones.
My
Paper
daughter,
ones. What
my,
a joke.
crap.
my daughter yells at me though because we do have all those plastic disposable straws, and then I put them in the dishwasher. And Alexa's like, "Daddy, they don't need to go in the dishwasher. You just throw them out." I'm like, okay, well, isn't that ruining the environment? Because they're just
Yeah.
disposable,
Yeah.
essentially.
Right. Mm.
She's destroying the environment.
Yeah, I
Well-
can't believe
And she's listening right now. I want her to know that.
I stand with you, Alexa.
It's also National Chocolate Covered Cherry Day. Oh, my mother used to love those.
Okay, I know. And people, they mock me because
the-
I love the chocolate covered cherries. I like those Queen Anne's with the goop.
Yes, yes.
Love
That's
them.
pretty
That's
good
because they're
stuff.
delicious.
Yeah,
They're
that's good stuff.
delicious. And if you're against them, there's something wrong.
I like a dark chocolate one.
Yep.
If I were
That's fine,
eating
too.
sugar.
Yep, I like that mixture.
Fred, chocolate covered
Oh
cherry.
yeah, I'm all for it.
Amen. Thank you. I'm around my people.
We are like the bipartisan spirit on food and other things in the C's
Right.
News
Yes.
this afternoon is
I
stunning.
mean,
it's
it really is.
inspiring. It really is.
It is.
Well, the world's oldest living Olympian passed away yesterday. She was 103. She was just a week away from her 104th birthday.
Oh, bless her heart.
Her name was Agnes Coletti, and she was a gymnast from Hungary. She was also a Holocaust survivor.
Ooh.
Her father was killed at Auschwitz, Agnes survived by pretending she was a Christian maid and made it all the way through World War II. World War II, of course, caused the cancellation of the Olympics in 1940 and in 1944 when she would have been there. But she managed to win 10 medals when competing for Hungary in 1952 and 1956. In fact, she was the oldest female gymnast to win a gold medal when she was 35.
Oh, wow.
Bless her heart.
Isn't that incredible?
Now, if you're 17,
her.
you've aged out.
But exactly.
Can I ask a random question about
Yes,
something
of
I saw
course.
today related to all this? Now, we love Simone Biles. I love Simone Biles.
Yeah,
Nothing
she's awesome.
But I did see, like, wasn't there
Sports Illustrated.
Sports Illustrated Athlete of the Year was Simone Biles. Why wouldn't it be Caitlin Clark? I mean,
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't know. I mean, I get Simone Biles, but that seemed to be the bigger story this year.
Well, that's actually a good question. The only justification I could think would be that
comeback.
Olympics are only once every 4 years,
Right.
and Caitlin Clark will continue to play. I don't know, but
And
you're
the-
right
and-
about
and
that.
And the comeback. I think that was.
Oh,
that
that's
was
true.
Uniquely Simone Biles.
Well, if you take Caitlin Clark out of the mix, there's no doubt in my mind that it's Simone
Right.
Biles. Nothing
Right.
against her, right?
But that, yeah, I get
agree.
what you're saying. All right, we have music for this. Jane, you'll like it.
Ooh.
This
Is it Ramalama Ding Dong by any
No,
chance?
it
All right,
is
I was
not.
unprepared for this, but you tell me what it is.
It's
Is
the
it the Osmonds?
Yep.
Oh, because I
Oh,
heard Wayne
yes.
died, right? Oh, you can't go wrong with the Osmonds
Come
on a Friday
on,
afternoon, right?
crank it.
I can tell you've been hurt by that look on your face.
The visual in the studio here, we're all raising our hands except for Fred. Fred's looking very uncomfortable. We're all dancing in the studio. Come on, Fred. It's the Osmond brothers, damn it.
Woo!
Oh,
That's beautiful.
I just
And he
really,
was he the oldest brother?
Well, no.
Oh, okay.
But that is the sad news. Osmond brother Wayne passed away, and it turns out it was actually on the 1st of January. He was one of the co-founders of the Osmonds, and of course the brother of Donnie and Marie. I really like this quote from his brother Merrill. Merrill, by the way, is
Isn't
the
he
lead
the
singer.
oldest? Is he
I
the
think
oldest?
so.
Yeah, I think Merrill
It's
is.
Merrill, and then of course Donnie comes along later. But most of the lead singing is Merrill or Donnie. All right, Merrill said, "I've never known a man that had more humility, a man with absolutely no guile, an individual that was quick to forgive and had the ability to show unconditional love to everyone."
Oh,
I just thought that
That's
was
really
the
nice.
nicest.
Yeah.
That's
Did they
very
still,
complimentary.
I'm not sure actually, do they still have a thing in Branson, the Osmonds?
I'm not sure, but
They
here's
might.
what's interesting. The group, the Osmonds, started as 4 of the siblings in a barbershop quartet in the 60s. Well, they're performing somewhere, and Andy Williams' dad sees them. So he says to Andy, who has a TV show at the time, "Hey, these kids were kind of great. You ought to
Yeah.
have them on as just like a kick." Andy Williams says, "Okay." Has them on. They're a huge hit, and that everything goes from there.
From there. And then Donnie and Marie show up much later.
That's right.
Well, they were a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll.
That's
that was
right.
what,
Oh,
1973,
come on.
74,
They
something
showed
you
like that?
up
watched it on
later.
Sunday
Of
night.
course, we all watched it.
Yeah,
we had
eventually they added Donnie and Jimmy. Don't forget about
I
Jimmy.
remember
Oh.
Jimmy. I remember
to.
Jimmy.
Oh, I almost forgot about
Yeah.
Jimmy. My
Yes.
apologies to Jimmy.
Sorry, Jimmy.
Now, they even had their own cartoon. Now, I remember this vividly for some reason. And that was the theme song, One Bad Apple. And they
Yes.
each did the voice of their own person.
Character.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And
I
it was
remember
on
the
Saturday
cartoon.
mornings. Oh, it was a thing.
And of course
So-
we watched that.
Of course.
Hang on here. I'm going to Google something here.
And by the way, One Bad Apple,
Yes.
which was a number 1 song,
Mm-hmm.
was a number 1 song for 5 weeks in 1971. So
That's
good for them.
So
great.
what year was
think
the
it was-
Jackson 5 out?
Oh,
with,
very similar time.
like what
Yes.
was the name of that song? I Want You Back.
I want
ABC?
ABC.
Hold on. Or I Want You Back.
No, it's ABC.
Well, either one,
Easy
because
as mine.
because Michael's singing in that high
And
voice
didn't
just
they-
like
didn't-
Donnie.
Didn't Donnie?
That was released. All right, so One Bad Apple came out in 1970. I Want You Back was right before that, in 1969, October of 1969. So
Yeah.
they're right there.
They, in fact, when I was looking up this song, they have an interview with Donny Osmond when Michael Jackson passed away, and he talked about how they were buddies doing this. And
they were
it's
friends.
really fun to kind of
and
see.
they were like kid stars together,
Yeah.
and they did have that bond.
You know
wait a
what's-
second
what's
here.
kind
There's
of a-
even this is musical ignorance on my part. Okay, that song, One Bad Apple, was written by George Jackson, who had the Jackson 5 in mind when he wrote it. According to Donny Osmond, Michael Jackson later told him that the Jackson 5 almost recorded that song, but chose to record ABC instead.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
And it was good for each of them.
What's kind of funny is that you think of Jimmy Osmond as the little baby. He's probably like 50 now.
Oh, yeah. He's
probably older than
he's
that.
I think he probably is older. I thought he was the same age as me.
He may be.
Close.
I actually don't know that one.
We'll have to look that
it's
up.
just it's just an
He's
interesting
61.
thing. By the way,
he's just barely older than us.
Both Donnie
he's younger than Fred, though.
and Michael Jackson were the 7th kids in their families.
And they were
Random thoughts.
Yeah.
Thoughts.
There you go.
All right, one of the laws that went into effect on New Year's Day was the one in Florida that bans children under 14 from having social media accounts. Just something to look out for. It sounds like parents of 14 and 15-year-olds can have accounts if they are authorized by their parents. So you can have an account if you're that old, but your parents have to say okay. And there are some lawsuits about this, so they're not going to really enforce it till this thing is settled. What are your thoughts, Mark? You have a youngster.
Ban it completely.
Yeah.
Take it away from these kids. I don't know why, beyond that, I don't know why we can't keep phones out of schools. How difficult can that be?
I mean, and some schools are doing it.
Well, I know some are, but
and it should be that easy. You do not bring a phone to school. I mean,
Yep.
could you imagine if we brought,
No.
like a transistor radio or whatever? I mean,
well,
you don't
Jane,
get to
in
just-
fairness, we did bring cigarettes to school, right?
Well, they let us.
I know, but that's weird.
bad,
when you think
okay?
about that today.
Oh, we had a smoking lounge.
Yes, I know.
That
Parkway
is
West had
a
one.
hot mess. But anyway, like disruptive things are not allowed. I mean,
I
is
know.
it really that difficult? I
I
mean,
know.
I would be all for banning them in the schools.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll see
We all
how
survived.
that turns. You're right. We did all survive.
Barely.
I've just got some just random things to mention here. This weekend will be the final games of the NFL's regular season. Then we're off to the playoffs. Oh, and Spotify, this has more music, Mark. Spotify announced that its most streamed song of 2024 was this one, Billie Eilish.
This is very difficult for me because I
like
just
her?
don't get her, and I love this song. I thought it was a great
Yeah.
song. It was the only Billie Eilish song I've ever played as a bump, but it really is a good song. Maybe she's great. And I've seen her in concert. She's very entertaining. I was at a music festival, but none of her songs have ever connected with me,
Well, yeah.
except for this one.
'Cause it was always you.
Anyway, that's a good song.
Birds of a Feather
Right.
by
Great
Billie
song.
Eilish, the most streamed song of 2024 on Spotify. All right, this is bizarre, but kind of interesting. There is an abandoned quarry on the border of Wales and England where an organization called Deep is going to be testing out underwater living. So they say, all right, we're going to the moon. We're going to try it there. What about underwater? It's called the Vanguard Project, and they hope to have an underwater modular habitat finished by 2027. Now, these would be portable, pressurized shelters where divers can live for up to a week. So they think the idea is we're going to go down there, study the bottom of the ocean, and then have a place to stay. Now, none of us understands 3D printing, but that's part of how they're able
Yeah.
to do this.
Wow.
It's possible now because of modern 3D printing with welding that can create these structures. And the goal for them is eventually to have people be able to live in the ocean for months or even years.
Well,
I don't
mean,
know if I
never thought about that, but I
Right.
guess it kind of makes sense.
It does
as long
make
as
sense.
It's safe.
It's a little bit more, you would think it's more attainable than living on Mars at this point.
I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
It's a little scary.
I don't know that I would have any desire.
No
would
way.
you rather live on the moon or under the water, Fred?
On the moon.
Moon.
What about you,
Oh,
Mark?
the moon for sure. Look, I can't. I
Being
give so
surrounded
much
by
credit
water?
to these members of the military who ever have spent. Look, I give credit to any member of the military, but anyone who's ever been on a submarine in the middle of the ocean, because
Ooh.
if you've ever toured, like if you go to Pearl
No.
Harbor, I would be crawling out of my skin the first minute that it submerges.
Wow.
And freaking out. So
it is the underwater part that
yeah, and it's
gets-
just the
yeah.
claustrophobia.
Yeah.
For me, it's not claustrophobia. It's just water is very powerful. And
Yes.
Any time the water could overtake you. Like,
Yeah,
do I
but-
trust any structure to keep the water off
No,
of
especially if
but
it's 3 deeper into.
Talk to Sandra Bullock. She's out there still flying around in space, so how much better is that?
But that's just floating. You're not drowning.
But you're right about that.
Right.
You're
I
up.
mean,
You could die there too.
I'm afraid of drowning.
Oh well, then this is not for you.
Probably
Yeah, I
not
would
for
say.
me. I think that's why I say
Should've-
moon.
Should have led with that.
Yeah.
And finally, in Sue's news, we have the world's fastest random fact. You ready? The Atlantic Ocean is much saltier than the Pacific.
Really?
Yes, which I did not realize,
Wow.
but apparently it's a thing.
But is there a reason?
If so,
That-
Sue's news did
Yeah.
not delve into
I-
that.
If so, it would become a longer
It would not be a random
answer. It
fact,
would not be
and it
the
would
short
not be
random
quick.
fact. There we go. Thank you. Sue's news in the books for this Friday, and I get to play a little bit more Ramalama Ding Dong.
Ram-a-lam, ding dong, ram-a-lam, ding ding dong, boom, boom, boom. I have got a girl on the name of Ram-a-lam, ram-a-lam, ding dong. I live and let it go, Ram-a-lam, ding dong. I love.
If you missed anything, podcast The Mark Reardon Show at 971talk.com.
Boom, boom, boom. Ram-a-lam, ding dong, ram-a-lam.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we do have some volume out there, and the worst of it is up north. They have road work going on 270, really close to the Chain of Rocks Bridge. If you are eastbound on 270, you're down to one lane, and traffic is a solid jam back past 367. If you are westbound, things are jammed from 203 to just past the Canal Bridge. It's just really a mess. Now, this has caused people to just drop down. So they are taking the McKinley Bridge, for instance. That now has a jam. Or if you are headed into Illinois, eastbound 6440 is lined up from Jefferson across the Poplar Street Bridge. Now, westbound traffic on 64, that's a slow go from Hampton out through McCausland. Also, Manchester, of course, especially westbound, is busy at 141. Probably people going to the grocery store. And westbound 64, a little bit slow at Clayton Skaker, moderate volume there, and at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. This report brought to you by New Perspective Senior Living of Weldon Spring. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for New Perspective Senior Living in Weldon Spring. This brand new facility offers state-of-the-art independent or assisted living and memory care and now has specials on select apartments. Visit npseniorliving.com or call to schedule a free lunch to experience senior living redefined for yourself.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Paul Hall on some entertainment suggestions and recommendations coming up here. Frank Cusumano at around 4:45. This is the week that the law offices of Susan L. Ward will get swamped with calls, unfortunately, because, we've talked to Susan about this before. Family practice attorney, divorce attorney, people get through the holidays, then they call the lawyer. So she's probably very busy. She'd love to take your call. The office would be happy to help you. They have multiple locations here in the St. Louis area. And what Susan will tell you, if you haven't reached out and you think that the marriage is heading in that direction, reach out now. And you can do it very easily. If you go to the website, stlfamilylaw.com, there's a confidential form that you can send right in, and they'll get back to you. You can also call 314-783-9400. The only ask that I have is make sure that they know that you heard about it here on 97.1 FM Talk. The focus on family law, the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward. The website, stlfamilylaw.com.
Stop everything you're doing right now and ask yourself, are you currently receiving steady paychecks? What about when you're retired? Will you receive a monthly check to cover your expenses and also have some fun? Marvin Mitchell and the team at Compass Retirement Solutions calls this mailbox money. It's a monthly check you'll receive throughout retirement. They don't want you to worry about if the money will show up or how much money you'll receive. The only thing they want you to think about is how to spend it when it arrives. Find out how to get enough money in your mailbox every month when you're retired. Call Marvin Mitchell and the Compass Retirement Solutions team at 314-373-1598 to start working on a plan that can help you create the monthly income you'll need in retirement. Call 314-373-1598 right now and schedule a visit with Compass Retirement Solutions. 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services, investments, and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois.
Cancer can feel like something we can't do anything about. But you can. There are screening tests that can catch cancer early when it may be easier to treat. Begin cervical screening at age 25. At 45, start colorectal and breast screening. At 50, discuss lung screening with a doctor. Find resources for free and low-cost screening at cancer.org/getscreened. This is a public service message from the American Cancer Society.
When a parent struggles with addiction or dies from a drug overdose, what happens to their children? Far too many end up in foster care, unable to ever return to their birth homes because it's simply not safe. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is fighting the clock so that teens don't age out of foster care, leaving them at a higher risk of addiction and other negative outcomes that can happen to a child without the love and stability of a permanent family. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
Want to listen to 97.1 outside the listening area? There's an app for that. Download the Odyssey app, and one tap will turn the station on. The Odyssey app for 97.1 FM Talk.
You made a fool of me, but the broken dreams have got to
Mr. Cusumano coming up in just a little bit. We'll talk some sports. We have Brian Kilmeade live in the 5 o'clock hour right now on some entertainment stuff. Paul Hall from Common Guy Films, commonguy.com. How are you, Paul? Good afternoon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Mark. I tell you, it's been a good year, I guess, at the movies and TV. I think I was more impressed almost with TV this year than movies, but you know, looking back at the year, there's a lot of things that kind of impressed me in different ways. I didn't do a traditional top 10 list this year because, well, I was done with them pretty much.
Yeah.
Instead, I wanted to talk about movies or TV shows that I felt I wanted to talk about, whether they were great or not great.
Okay.
Just things that I enjoyed.
Let's recap then, and maybe Jane and I and Sue can contribute to some of these as well. I mean, Jane in particular has seen pretty much every show that's out there, but what are amongst your favorites?
Well, you know, the first thing I was really shocked is that Wicked lived up to the hype. And it's one of those things when you get hyped as much as Wicked was coming into the end of this year, and it being part one of two, you go, well, is it going to get there?
Yeah,
and you know what?
A lot of people said
that.
It did.
Yeah, and it did. It was fantastic, and it's a great first half. They cut it off at almost the perfect place. It never felt too long, even though you were dealing with 2.5 hours of movie, and the music is spectacular. It's a great storyline, and I think it's something people are going to wait for part two, which comes up in 25.
Yeah, I loved it. It's not for everyone. If you don't like musicals, you're probably not going to like it, but I thought it was spectacular as well. And, you know, I would put it in the category of a film that deserves, you got the Golden Globes this weekend, the Critics' Choice Awards are coming out here soon. You're still a voting member in that. But, you know, I think when it comes to some of these Oscar contenders, Paul, and this happens every year, as I was someone who voted on these awards for 2 decades, there's all these movies that I'm watching right now, and I almost want there to be an experiment, Jane, and I don't think we could ever do this, but Paul, think about this. Let's say that all 4 of us, we'll put Sue in the mix here, we are given 30 movies to watch that are awards contenders, right? We don't know anything about, we're in our basements, we got to watch all those 30, we got to come up with a list of the top 5 movies that we've watched.
Right.
Having done that right now, I wouldn't put, there's a couple of films that are being talked about for Best Picture that I would never put in a Best Picture category. Now, they're okay, like the Jesse Eisenberg movie, A Real Pain. I thought it was good. I thought it was compelling. It's not Best Picture. Wicked is Best Picture. The Dylan biopic, to me, that's a Best Picture nominee. There's a few others, but there's a lot of these this time of year where you shake your head and say, what the hell?
Yeah, and that's what most people feel, and that's why award shows don't get the viewing that they used to. It's one of those things where you can go and see all these movies that you haven't seen. You can't really stream in most cases, some of them, and you just don't want to sit through them because, quite frankly, let's be honest. And Mark, you've done this. You've been through this slog at this time of year when you're watching a lot of movies and back to back, they're on the depressing side.
Yeah, they are.
It just kind of gets to you.
Yeah, wears on you
over a course of time.
It absolutely does.
And what is wrong with movie award shows liking movies that a lot
Are
of people
popular.
like?
Right.
I mean, it's almost as if it's popular, it's off the list.
Yep.
No, not my list. And that's
well, no,
the thing.
not your
Mark,
list, but these award shows.
Mark and I have in general, when we voted for Critics' Choice, we would exchange our lists on the night that the ballots were due in just to see where we landed. And I think Mark and I went to a lot more of the populist titles because we come from a part of the country here where in the Midwest, it's just we have more sensibility.
Well, Paul,
and we like a variety of stuff.
I think
the artsy and the fun.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, and I can say this very comfortably because I've hung with these people, but there's snobbery in these critics groups, and they all think that they are better than everyone else. And what happens is, like, I save this list from the LA Times because I always want to see where people are, the best movies of the year. So Amy Nicholson, one of the critics from the LA Times, puts her list together, and there's a bunch of movies that people haven't seen. Honora is a film that's gotten a lot of buzz. I haven't seen that one yet. I mentioned A Real Pain. She puts A Real Pain at number 4. Again, good movie. I liked it. But at number 5 was this film called, I don't even know if I want to call it a film. It's called Hundreds of Beavers. And I've watched this damn thing mainly because I wanted to make fun of it. It is the most bizarre, freaky, weird damn movie. Even my kids, my son was in town with his girlfriend. I made them watch it. They thought it was bizarre. It's I can't even describe it. I really can't.
But they feel really good being so obscure.
Right. Yeah. And they're cooler than everyone because they've seen it and it's not even in theaters yet. It's not going to get released until you know what I mean? This is the mindset that a lot of the critics give. And the other thing that happens is, and Paul, you probably saw the email today, and I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but there's a guy that just passed away in the Critics' Choice. He was one of the founding members. I knew him pretty well. His name was Jim Ferguson. But what I'll tell you about Jim, and Paul, you know this, is if there was a crappy movie that was out, right? And I mean, what can we think of? Let's say Norbit, because that's always my go-to.
Oh my gosh!
And I can name some names that you could recognize right now. Sean Edwards from Kansas City. The crappiest movies out there will still get a blurb from a critic that says it's the best movie of the year. And that was this guy, Jim Ferguson. And that's this guy, Sean Edwards, in Kansas City. And that's what a lot of them do because they're kind of on the take. And none of this stuff happens accidentally. A good example of this right now is what's happening with Justin Baldoni and the whole dust-up with what's her name? Because
is that all
Blake Lively?
Blake Lively. Because that's both sides are manipulating the story on that. You have high-powered PR agents that manipulate things. So the same thing happens with award shows. They get out ahead of these, critics, and they lavish them with gifts. Look, Paul, I'm still getting posters and stuff like that. I got the coolest signed poster of, what was it, Maria Perez or whatever the hell that movie is.
Amelia Perez,
right,
yeah.
Because they want me, I'm not even a voting member, but they do this. The movie companies spend a lot of money bribing people across the country to vote for their films. In many cases, people haven't even seen the movies. It's well documented that Oscar voters share their screeners. Now you do it digitally, but they would give their DVDs to family members and say, hey, tell me what to vote for, right? And that's how a lot of this happens.
They don't do it. What's interesting, though, is the TV shows. I mean, I guess that's the nature of the medium, but, because you can't have a crappy show because nobody watches it, then nobody ever hears about it. But the TV shows make a lot more sense. I mean, they get it more right.
You're right about
I think you're right.
But
I think the reason is because, look, you can have the most critically acclaimed movie on the planet, 99% Rotten Tomatoes, and it's made $3,000 at the box office. In television, it is what it is. People are going to watch it or they're not going to watch it.
Exactly,
right?
and it won't make it. So
exactly.
I mean, because I looked at the shows they nominated. I'm like, there's some really good, legit ones here that I support.
I think you're getting, to your point, Jane, I think it's an excellent point. You're getting a better, more accurate take of what is exceptional in the television world. Although,
because it's harder to survive.
Right, but some of this stuff is so artsy-fartsy, and it just gets beyond people. Paul, you mentioned a movie here that you really liked for 2024. I've recommended it to everyone, called Thelma, with June Squibb, who is a wonderful 94-year-old actress. This is on Hulu. It is a wonderful film, but you're not going to hear that as a nominee for Best Picture, right? It's under the radar, but it's one that's audience-friendly. It's really well made. The acting is spectacular, and it has a heart.
I don't know if I would put it out to pasture just yet. I do think there's some love for that film out there. I've seen it on some year-end top 10 lists from folks. I've seen people talk more and more about it. It's in our best comedy category, and it may be where I end up putting my vote when it comes time for putting my vote in later. It is definitely that there are, with Critics' Choice and some of the other groups like ours, yes, we have some bad apples. We all do. But we also have people like myself and you were when you were there in the day, which I take it seriously. And actually the publicists do the one thing that's important that they can do is get the film in front of me and remind me when I'm voting that it's out there. As far as getting another T-shirt or a mug or a candle, those are cool things. Don't get me wrong, and I'll give them away to members of my family. But that's not influencing my vote. I mean, they haven't flown me to a set, and that wouldn't influence my vote as well. Well, my vote is simply based on what I believe is the most enjoyable content for the year and the best content for the year. Sometimes that lines up with the Academy, and you see Critics' Choice line up with the Academy more often than not because you get a big, wide representation versus these small niche groups when you get just the half dozen, two dozen, 3 dozen film critics of a city. That's getting a real insulated group of people voting, and those will be more obscure than when you get hundreds of people across the country, giving that kind of sample size.
Now, one of the movies that is getting a lot of buzz, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, I started it and I stopped it because I just had this feeling from the very beginning it was going to be excellent, and I was kind of late at night and I didn't want to, fall asleep. But it's called The Brutalist with Adrian Brody. It's also a very long movie, and it starts in Europe in the aftermath of World War II, but then it's a story of an immigrant who comes to America. Have you seen The Brutalist?
The Brutalist is a fascinating and amazing film from start to finish. It is long, and it's one of those slogs that it takes a little while to go through, and you have to be invested and keep going. You can't give it up after 45 minutes and turn it off. So it's good that you didn't really get into it before you wanted to walk away or step away. I think there's a market for it. I think it's a film that is going to look at some groups of people and be like, I'm not going to start even watching it. And I think that's going to go up against it.
Well, it's not going to do a lot of box office.
It's not going to do much.
Yeah. All right, let's because 2024 is behind us. So let's look ahead to 2025 with television and film. And one of the things on Netflix that's going to come up in a couple of weeks, I got to give a big plug to my friend Gabe Basso, who's from right here in St. Louis. Gabriel, I'm sorry because he's an official actor now, but The Night Agent Season 2 is coming back on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's coming up on, I believe it's January 23rd. You're going to get season 2 coming home for everybody to check it out. And the first season is still hanging out there over at Netflix. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out before the second one launches. And the other big title that's coming out for the first month of the year, January over on Apple, Severance Season 2. I believe that is Season 2. Yeah. That was huge at the water cooler when this first season dropped. And I think people will be excited to see what's coming on
Jane,
that.
Did you try that one? I tried it. It didn't work for me.
And I could not get
Me
there.
neither.
I'm a slow
You couldn't be in the water cooler conversation.
No,
Come on.
I don't get water, I guess, but I'm more of a slow horses gal.
On the film front, you have Mission Impossible, another Mission Impossible. 28 years later is coming out. You have
Wait,
another,
is that a two-parter?
Which one?
Was one of those Mission Impossibles a two-parter?
The first film came out a couple years back. You're very accurate on picking up on that.
This is the second one in that.
This is, in essence, it's called The Final Reckoning. It's Dead Reckoning Part 2. The Final Reckoning, which the first one, Dead Reckoning, came out, I think it was 23? I don't have it off the top of my head. But yeah, first half was phenomenal. So I can't wait to see the finish of that part of this great franchise. It's been good everywhere.
All right, Paul, tell folks. Oh, wait, let me throw in one thing that I did watch this week, too, just because I've been watching a lot. And it just holds up, and it's really good. It actually holds up very well for the time. I went back and I watched, just because it was one of those late-at-night movies, Jerry Maguire. Hadn't seen Jerry Maguire in a while.
It's a great movie.
It was fantastic. It really was really good. Tell folks where they can find your reviews, Paul Hall.
Hey, it's simple, commonguy.com. And I'll tell you what, the one thing that really struck me, there is on the schedule The Passion of the Christ Resurrection. So a film that you thought could never be a sequel made from it, The Passion of the Christ Resurrection, due April 18th in theaters. So sequels to everything.
I don't know what to make of that. Thank you, Paul Hall. Have a great weekend and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Cusumano's coming up next.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, it's not a bad commute tonight, depending on where you are. Now, there was a stall eastbound 6440 at Kings Highway. They moved that off to the shoulder. There is a jam headed for the Poplar Street Bridge. It starts around Jefferson, slow until you get to the split within the bridge. And we've got westbound lined up Hampton out through McCausland. Eastbound 64, a little slow at Big Bend. Moderate volume for 40 drivers out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. But the worst of it is up north. And eastbound 270 is just a parking lot approaching 367 to a point just past the Chain of Rocks Bridge, where really even before that, traffic is down to one lane. But this has really caused a jam. But it's down to one lane westbound as well. So if you're headed in from Illinois, there's a jam that goes back to 203. So people thought, what? I'm going to drop down Route 3. And they've taken the McKinley Bridge in, which is a slow go, but still better than what you're facing up there. And other than that, we're fine. Now, there's a little bit of a slowdown southbound 55 at Revis Barracks in the construction zone. But southbound 270 looks fine at Doherty Ferry. In fact, things look great through there. Like there's really no issue at all. This report is brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. From windows and siding to kitchen, bathrooms, outdoor spaces, they deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Let me guide you into New Perspective Senior Living, a great new facility here in Weldon Spring. Independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing, memory care. They're a great company from Minnesota. First time they're in Missouri. It's beautiful. I've been there in person. They are open. They have residents living in these apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, all the modern amenities, big walk-in closets. They would love for you to come over if you have any interest in this type of living. Maybe it's time for that, or maybe you have a family member who could be interested. They're going to be blown away by the New Perspective building and how awesome it looks. Even the common spaces, the artwork that they put up with a lot of sports memorabilia from here in St. Louis. They have an artificial intelligence system that they use. It's a real-time fall detection system with AI, so they're really using technology as well. You can always find out more at a great website, N as in Nancy, P as in Paul, npseniorliving.com for New Perspective Senior Living. Head on over for a tour. Tell them that we sent you over.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-924-7415. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-924-7415. 800-924-7415. 800-924-7415.
At Neovitin, we are all about supporting your nutrition, and that's why we are excited about our new Neovitin Omega-3 supplement. Neovitin Omega-3 is formulated with 1,200 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids to help support healthy hearts. Our high-quality omega-3 fish oils are sourced from wild-caught fish and tested for heavy metals. With our convenient monthly subscription, you can get Neovitin Omega-3 delivered right to your door every month with no long-term obligations. Support your daily nutrition and sign up for a Neovitin Omega-3 subscription at neovitin.com today.
A 2024 survey by Navitas Health Solutions reported that 48% of Americans have been unable to fill a needed prescription at least once due to the cost. RX Outreach, an online nonprofit mail-order pharmacy based in St. Louis, is committed to providing safe and affordable medications for everyone. They offer over 950 medicines for chronic illnesses and conditions and ship to all 50 states, regardless of insurance, without membership fees or copays. Contact RX Outreach at 314-222-0472 or visit rxoutreach.org.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show at 4:48 is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. If you need to sell your home to buy a new one, it's never been more important to have an experienced negotiator that you can trust. You need my friends Mark and Neil Gelman on your side. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Jared Halpern. There is zero margin for error. Not a single other Republican can vote for somebody other than Mike Johnson. That is a smaller margin than even McCarthy had 2 years ago.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9.
Yeah, in case you missed it, Mike Johnson was elected as Speaker of the House. Brian Kilmeade will weigh in on that after 5 o'clock live. I'm going to visit with Frank Cusumano here. Jan, I was thinking about this. I don't think it really matters that KSTK is moving from downtown because Frank never just sauntered on over from his office to visit with us on a Friday, has he?
No,
it's always been on the phone, right?
Yeah.
So we don't really care that you're moving, Frank. How are you? Happy New Year. Good point, Jane.
I tried to get in once, but they said they had a stipulation about Italians in that studio. So.
Don't tell anybody.
Kind of forgot about that.
I squeaked through.
Hey, Frank, there was a great tweet from your friend, not really mine. You know him very well, but I'm a fan of Brady Cook, where he said, catch all on the flip, and really wrote a very, very passionate and sincere thank you tweet, if you will, to Mizzou Nation, to his teammates, to Coach Drink and the rest of the coaching staff. He should have mentioned you by name because you've been great to Brady Cook.
Well, he's the best. If I had a third son, I'd like it to be Brady Cook. And it's just, I mean, when we signed him at Channel 5 for our little NIL deal, very small one, I thought we were getting, a pretty good talker. I didn't think we were going to get one of the most compelling athletes in the state of Missouri in 2024, which he was. I'm still asking for somebody to tell me what athlete has ever gone to the hospital in the middle of a game, came back and win the game. I don't know of anybody.
And that's a story that really probably deserved more national attention and didn't get it.
But I will say this: he got some text, and one of them was from Peyton Manning.
Oh yeah, that's
right. The next day. Good work, kid.
I do remember that. Well, what's going on this weekend, and what's your thoughts on the CFP at this point? I mean, yesterday was not as competitive as I think people had anticipated. Georgia did not have their starting quarterback. I find it fascinating, Jan, I don't know if you know this. All 4 teams that had the byes lost. All 4 of them.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Well, some of them didn't deserve a bye. And the only really bad thing about the college football playoff is that they gave byes to teams that won conferences just because they won conferences. Right. That's not the way to do it. You pick your 12, and then you seed them then about who is the best 4, and they should get the byes. But in terms of the actual games, Ohio State looks like the best team on the planet Earth. I don't think Texas can get them. And Notre Dame Penn State is going to be fascinating. I mean, that is going to be a great old school matchup between 2 really well-coached squads.
I think Notre Dame's going to get them.
I guess maybe. I don't know. I don't like any of these teams. That's the problem. Yeah. And I think that there's going to be a discussion in the aftermath of this, Frank, because, there's a lot of schools. I think, look at Mississippi last night. There's a lot that were on the outside looking into the CFP that probably deserve to be in, but this is the system. They have to tweak it. They have to learn from it. Yes. I'm just glad we have the playoff. I mean, we should be happy because we bitched about it for so long.
We've started.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Mississippi because I make like one bet every 20 years or something. So last night I knew that Lane Kiffin was going to come in there with an ornery, nasty attitude and embarrass the hell out of Duke.
Oh, he did.
And so, yes, I can now have dinner this week. Yeah. But yeah, that was an easy way to win it because they were ticked off and they're a really good team. They thought they should have been in the college football playoff, which I don't think they should have been because they had that bad loss, I guess, against Kentucky. But yeah, they laid it on Duke last night.
Hey, Mizzou. Lost to Illinois, obviously, the bragging rights game. They won the other day against a team that's probably a high school team, but they head right into the SEC fire this weekend, don't they?
Oh, my gosh. If you thought Illinois was good, and by the way, Illinois is really good. They put on the performance of the year last night and just blew out Oregon at Oregon, who's ninth in the country. But tomorrow from Mizzou, they're going to be facing an Auburn team. And you look at this resume, this is insane. They already have won on the road at Houston, which is fifth in the NET rankings, on a neutral court over Iowa State. They're sixth. And they have double-digit wins against North Carolina, Purdue, Memphis, and Ohio State, all top 50 in the net. I mean, they are insanely good.
Well,
this is going to be a tough task for Mizzou.
And one of the I think he's always been one of my favorites. I got to know him very well when he was at UW Milwaukee. Bruce Pearl is one of the best coaches in the country. He just is.
Yeah, he may be ethically challenged, but in terms of being a coach, he's as good as anybody.
He has been ethically challenged over the years. You're right about that. You know the backstory there, but he's a hell of a coach. There's no doubt about it. What is coming up on Sunday night, Frank?
Well, real quickly, SLU has a big one tonight against St. Joe's. There's a ray of hope for SLU, by the way, because they just went to Fordham, their first A-10 game, and they blew them out of the building. Blues got a big one against Brady Tkachuk and the Senators. Brady comes in with 17 goals. Sports Plus Sunday night, we got a good one. It's going to be our final interview with Brady Cook. We're going to just go over everything, and he was just outstanding. We just taped it. And then we're going to have the 10 sports figures to watch in 2025 in the region.
Can you just, as a preview, are any of the 10 members of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team?
Yes. Oh, actually, there are 3 people associated with them, 2 players and 1 executive.
Awesome. Oh, and also, Sue she reminded me here just a minute ago to mention that I won my fantasy football championship, Frank.
Oh.
She wanted me to remind the audience to tell
Like
you
everybody?
about that. She's always interested in that. Cusumano, have a great weekend. Enjoy that Brady Cook. Thank you very much. We'll see you. Jane, you have a great weekend, too.
I will.
All right, we'll see you next Friday.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
We've got a jam up north on 270. East and westbound 270 are jammed. Headed just a little east of the chain of Roxbridge. They're down to 1 lane in each direction. It's all due to road work, and it's really caused a delay. There's also a jam eastbound on 6440 headed for the Poplar Street Bridge and crossing it about halfway across the bridge where the lanes split, then things get better. On the Illinois side, the volume eastbound 64 as you approach 159. And back on the Missouri side, kind of the usual volume, westbound 6440, Hampton out through McCausland. Southbound 55 slowing at Rivas Barracks. 70 is wide open. It looks great. And 64 really out west, just moderate volume at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
You know, since it is the new year, we do 5 seminars each year with the team from the Retirement Advisory Group. Thomas Helbig and his nephew Bob Kershaw and Bob's wife Tammy, family-run operation. They try to help you reach and attain the retirement of your dreams. And, you know, we had a pretty good day on Wall Street today. We've seen some, volatility, and there's still folks predicting a bit of a little bit of a downturn in the stock market. You just don't know. The bottom line is you cannot just count on what's happening on Wall Street and maybe traditional brokers to get you through retirement, especially when inflation is such a significant deal. Let the team at the Retirement Advisory Group build your own personalized structured income plan. Now, they will tell you they've never lost a penny of their clients' money. How is that possible? They'll prove it to you. They'll explain it to you. The secret is safely linking to the market. And if you have concerns about whether you will have enough money to retire comfortably, this is the time to get in. The seminars are coming up, the first one in February. In the meantime, skip the line, go right in at retirementkey.com. They've been helping clients for almost 39 years. Thomas Helbig in the Retirement Advisory Group.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Make sure your family is well taken care of with life insurance. Protect your phones, laptops, and more with electronic device insurance. And cover your furry friends with pet health insurance.
The colder weather is here, and my friends at Hanson's Tree Service want to offer you a 10% winter discount for all tree care scheduled between January and March of next year. Mark Cox here. Call now. Get your spot secured. Also, when it comes to winter plant health care, it's a great time to get one of their arborists over. Have them to prescribe the best treatment options for your trees during the fall and winter season. Tell them you heard Mark Cox talking about it. Schedule your appointment today at hansonstree.com.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
You've listened to 97.1 FM Talk. You've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio several times a weekend right here on 97.1 FM Talk. And you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at BioBalanceHealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. BioBalanceHealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
KFTK FM Florissant.
An Odyssey station.
The sentencing set. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The sentencing for President-elect Trump in his New York hush money case a week from today. The judge rejecting a push from the Trump team to toss the case on presidential immunity grounds and because of his return to the White House later this month.
Judge Juan Merchan has ruled that the sentencing in this criminal case conviction against President-elect Trump will be next Friday, January 10th. And in that same decision, he says that the president-elect will not receive jail time. Instead, President-elect Trump will receive what's called an unconditional discharge. This means that the conviction will stick, but that he will not receive any punishment. This will also allow the president-elect to appeal this matter further.
Fox's Brian Yennis. In a statement, Trump spokesman Stephen Chung called the ruling a direct violation of the Supreme Court's immunity decision and other long-standing jurisprudence. It was a close one, but Mike Johnson has been reelected Speaker of the House after some hardline Republicans at first refused to vote for him.
This Congress will renounce the status quo, and we will listen to the voices of the people.
He ended up defeating Hakeem Jeffries by 3 votes. Jeffries will continue his role as minority leader.
House Democrats will work hard to find bipartisan common ground with our Republican colleagues in the incoming administration on any issue, whenever and wherever possible.
And Jeffries added it's time to come together to put party politics aside and get things done for Americans. The FBI says the Green Beret who died in an explosion of a Tesla Cybertruck at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas bore no animosity towards the president-elect, based on interviews with Matthew Livelsberger's family, and they say he likely suffered from PTSD. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
No weather concerns this evening or overnight. Mostly cloudy skies. Around 30 degrees for evening plans, 20 for the low. No weather concerns on Saturday. Mostly cloudy skies, 32. Saturday evening is dry. After midnight, snow mixing with sleet. Late night hours, 24. The main event is on Sunday into Sunday evening. Snow, sleet, freezing rain, windy, and mainly in the 20s. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
You're leaving for work, but the garage door won't open. Is it the opener? Is the spring broken? Now you're late and your car is trapped. Well, don't panic. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is here with same-day emergency service. They won't leave you stuck. The original Red Ribbon Garage Door Company, trusted in St. Louis since 1926. Call 314-781-5200 or schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
The T.R. Hughes Homes for the Holidays display and inventory sale is going on now through the rest of the year. Move-in ready, up to $50,000 in savings just in time for the holidays. Visit trhughes.com for details. That's trhughes.com.
Reel in the big one at the best fishing expo in the Midwest, the Let's Go Fishing Show, on January 3rd through 5th at Gateway Convention Center in Collinsville. Visit vendors with the latest fishing boats, rods, reels, tackle, accessories, resorts, and guided services. Shop unique, one-of-a-kind items, and top-of-the-line marine electronics at discount prices. Attend free seminars. Meet pro anglers, Bassmaster Elite Series pros Brandon Palaniuk, Steve Kennedy, and more. Free fishing pond. Win prizes from Wholesale Batteries, Canoe Canada, and Tri-State Trolling Motors. Visit letsgoshows.com for coupons and more info.
St. Jude exceeds any expectation or any dream I could have ever had about a hospital. First was getting David here to save his life. But then I was told we wouldn't get a bill. I didn't quite process that. How's this possible? It's possible through all the wonderful people who donate.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. If you think about that, I mean, go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine.
The research here is research that we share with everyone else because overall, we want to help all children that have cancer. What makes that possible is people that give to St. Jude. They really help us to fulfill our mission, and we're so grateful to have them on our team.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
It's a January tradition. The Mark Cox Morning Show will be broadcasting live from the Missouri State Capitol Wednesday, January 8th for the first day of the legislative session. Sponsored by Golden Oak Lending. Homeowners get cash in as little as 14 days at Golden Oak Lending.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. Follow Mark on Twitter at Mark Reardon KFTK and Instagram at Mark Talk. You're listening to the Mark Reardon Show.
A rare appearance by Brian Kilmeade coming up on a Friday afternoon, although I say that, and let's hope that we can get him on the line here in just a little bit. We thought we'd save Brian for this hour, and a lot of times, as you probably know, on Fridays, I lighten the load just a little bit. We're not going to do that tonight because there's so much going on as we start the year, not only with the new legislative session in Jefferson City. You heard Mark Cox is going to be down there. We had Nick Schroer on the air. Nick's hanging out here. He went and got a bite to eat. He's going to come back and join us at 5:30 for a little preview of the legislative session election. He was on the Roundtable earlier this afternoon. We got Kilmeade, like I said, coming up in a couple of minutes on Monday. And I'm going to get into this, I think, if I have time. Dave Murray's going to give us the latest on the forecast. We do have a snowy, icy mix that's going to start tomorrow. We've had many, many reports, including from some of our, significance, that grocery stores have been just absolutely pummeled. There's no eggs or milk or anything like that. So people have really heeded the warnings probably too effectively. Now, my prediction, Dave probably won't like this. My prediction would be that we end up with like 1 to 2 inches. The thing about this storm, though, is really the ice. And I think that Dave pointed that out yesterday. He'll have details. If you get a layer of ice, even if it only snows 1.5 inches or 2 inches, it is going to be a mess. And then the other part of the story moving forward for next week is really bone-chilling single-digit low temperatures in the morning, high temperatures only in the 20s. If I have time, I'm going to try to make time for this story, but I'm going to tell you that Corey DeAngelis is coming up at 3:25 on Monday. He's with the American Culture Project. He is one of the leading advocates on education reform in this country. And it was interesting last night. I was popping around when I got home on Twitter, and I had a couple of people who shared this with me today, but I noticed it last night that he was talking about something that was happening locally with Webster Groves. They have a new superintendent. I think there was a story that was in the Post a couple of days ago. It says Webster Groves School District names new superintendent. The school district will has tapped a new superintendent, and she's a familiar face. Webster Groves Board of Education hired Jana Parker, a former district parent and St. Louis area administrator, to lead the district after the retirement of John Simpson at the end of the 24-25 school year. And they say she comes from Highline Public Schools in Washington State, where she was the executive director of curriculum and instruction. One of the things that Corey DeAngelis likes to do is kind of look into some of these folks, and he put what I would call an amazing string together on Jana Parker, dealing with her white fragility perspective, her endorsement of it's time for white people to understand their whiteness, all this other nonsense. Dr. Seuss was a racist. I posted this on Twitter yesterday, and you should check out the string from Corey. He'll join us at 3:25 on Monday afternoon. Right now, we got Brian Kilmeade as we head into the weekend. It's been a busy day in Washington and beyond. How are you, Brian? Happy New Year.
Same to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. It didn't look for a while that they were going to get this done on one ballot. There were some deals that were cut. I don't know if you know what happened behind the scenes, but Mike Johnson has been reelected as Speaker of the House.
Nothing major. I don't think he gave up anything major, but for the most part, now the big story, and I literally just got off the train if I missed it, is can they get that 9-person space? For example, 9 people, same party. If they want to oust you, have to agree to try to oust you, put it to a vote instead of 1.
Right.
So the next Matt Gaetz, aspiring selfish.
You mean Tom Massey, without naming
him.
Right?
Yeah. Although Tom Massey's really bright, no doubt about it. But Tom Massey does not have a big following. So, Tom Massey just decides that I'll never vote for him, pull up my fingernails. Why? I mean, these people never played a team sport. Bottom line is, Speaker Johnson's going to be in there. I think he'll communicate effectively with the president. The president will be frustrated at times. This is going to be the story almost every time we talk. It's going to be, who are the 7 Republicans that won't agree on whatever it is, the new budget, the new, the tax reform. Remember, a lot of people didn't vote for a lot of Republicans didn't vote for the Trump tax reform. So they had some, they had a big deficit. I think they had 25 seats to give away last time, and still they passed it. Now, if you lose 25 people on renewing the Trump tax cuts, okay, it's not passing.
Yeah, and look, I think that I heard Chip Roy comment in the aftermath. I think I saw him on Fox. I think that there is a desire. I understand that some of these folks, and I get that Tom Massey's a smart guy. He leans more libertarian. I actually lean more libertarian. But I was encouraged yesterday, for example, Brian, we have a member of Congress, new member, Bob Onder, who was in our state Senate here in Missouri. And Bob can be a little bit of an obstructionist at time, and he's a staunch conservative. So I wasn't sure where he'd fall on the Mike Johnson question. His answer last night was, yes, I'm voting for Johnson, not happy with the CR debacle, but think we need to choose our team and get to work. And I think that's the prevailing sentiment, is that maybe this isn't perfect right now, but good Lord, you're going to sacrifice a lot of political capital if you get into a speaker battle here in the first couple of days of 2025.
Yeah, and also he's got Johnson, who I'm a fan of. He just has to communicate. And that's the main thing. A lot of these guys, women, Victoria Sparks go, we have no idea what he's working on. We had, this hits me right away. No one communicated with us. I didn't get my 72 hours, and it's 1,000 pages, and he only told 10 people. Kevin McCarthy got a lot of those people elected. He got them their funding, showed up for them. So if he had to skip them once in a while, he had a little bit of, understanding in the bank. I don't think that people understood that, Johnson was not working for himself to get Louisiana stuff. He working behind the scenes to get this done in order to get to Christmas and then get Trump in charge.
Right.
With his Senate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's a lot of anticipation. This is good that they got this done heading into the weekend. You can kind of push forward. Obviously, it's a holiday week. Brian, I was off until yesterday, but holy moly, has there been a lot of news from across the country. Let me start with what happened in New Orleans. Let me ask this. I've tossed this out on our roundtable. I don't even know what to think anymore. Do you think that what happened in Vegas and New Orleans are connected in any way?
I don't think now. I don't. I really don't. So they know each other. One guy loved Trump. Other guy loved ISIS. So I think, as of now, we believe he loved Trump. We see him driving around Vegas for about an hour. He killed himself.
Right.
And then blew up the truck. This guy got out of his truck and started shooting other people. He placed IEDs to hurt other people. This guy parked himself in the middle of a Trump tower and blew himself up. Some speculated it was to get back his wife, who hated Trump, and told him they're done on Christmas. So we'll see. Someone who was telling me that they got a manifesto to check it out, so I'll read that. But as of now, unconnected, just coincidence. And no one's telling me that. I mean, if you just read the stories, they do seem unconnected. They don't know each other. And this guy is active in the military 19 years, and they say a Rambo-style American fighter.
Well, and I don't know in the end what we're going to learn about New Orleans in particular, but one thing I think that a lot of people are coming away with is a lack of confidence in public officials, in police officials, in the FBI, because of the way that that's been handled down there. The whole thing with the bollards is very confusing. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but this does not instill confidence moving into this year.
Yeah, well, it's really not hard not to have confidence. And if you read the New York Times today, in 2017 they get these bollards. And then in 2019, they're now working. So they hired a private firm to check out the city, and they go, you got bollards. You got to get them working. And they go, okay, but it's going to cost money. Do you realize that beads got caught in the bollards and jammed them up?
I talked about it earlier because I was so confused. I gave credit to the New York Times, Brian, because I thought that was pretty good reporting.
Yeah, well, it's a private company. They came up with this, and you said, you got to fix it. So they go, well, we got the money to fix it, but just for the Super Bowl. Oops. So, okay. So then they have these other alternatives, and these, I forgot the name of it, these huge metal things that's supposed to be able to stop a 5,000-pound truck. So, okay. The superintendent, when she heard about it, she goes, I didn't even know we had these.
Yeah, that's
weird. The company said, now they put them out right away, and they're out now. And then the company contacted the press and said, they're using them wrong. That's not how you use them. So they don't have to use it. And this woman's background, she evidently got fired. She's got fired from her other job, and she shows up she shows up all of a sudden in New Orleans, and she looks like she's, no offense, but we're used to like young, viral, vibrant people. She's about 80 years old, I think.
Yeah, to Ann Kirkpatrick, what I said yesterday about this, because in fairness, sometimes we look at people from afar and we're like, wait a second. And John Fetterman, Brian, is an example for me. We got to know John Fetterman. We saw maybe what the people in Pennsylvania saw. So my question yesterday was, maybe there's a little bit more to Ann Kirkpatrick than I'm seeing, but boy, it did not look good at all.
I'm open to being pressed. How about, we set up a system and the terrorists beat the system. Any other questions? Oh, yeah. What's your system? Yeah, we put cops on the corner. We never thought they were going to drive up sidewalks. Meanwhile, in the ISIS doctrine, it talks about driving up sidewalks. So, that's what happened in Germany. That's what happened in New Zealand. That's one of the goals. It's actually written up. You go and you're supposed to have multiple layers of fighting. So after you roll over as many people as possible, as fast as you can, they even recommend pickup trucks, then you got to be ready to keep fighting, so make sure you have a gun in the car. It's like written down. So they're about 40% light in terms of police force. Nobody wants to work there because of the whole George Floyd thing and terrible pay and no respect. Murder capital of the country. So then you're going to go protect the number one site for the Sugar Bowl, for the Super Bowl, and for Mardi Gras? No, thank you.
Yeah.
This is a pretty terrible mix.
It's a really bad mix. What's coming up tomorrow night on your show?
Well, we got Percy Miller, Master P. He is the ambassador to entertainment. Grew up in New Orleans. He just joined us at the last minute, and it's great. Robert O'Brien, Tom Holman will be with us, Tommy Lahren, and that breaks down, really what we're going to put in the show. And we're just going to be covering what happened in the media this week. We're going to be covering what's going on with the tunnel. They found tunnels underneath on the Mexico side going into the American side. So Tom Holmes is going to talk about if he's gotten contacted with people who bought the wall. They want to sell it back to us. So that's kind of cool. And Robert O'Brien, he, like me, is not upset with the Trump team fighting with each other. I kind of like the real debate on the H-1B1 visa. I don't mind the debate that's going to take place over Ukraine. And Robert O'Brien says the thing that he likes about this team is that they like Trump. The other guys thought knew more than Trump. So these guys understand that the buck stops with him. So I kind of like it,
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that.
Well, it's a different, it's a completely different start to this administration. And I think that, I don't know about you, but I think Trump's been on some unbelievable good behavior recently. I'm shocked by it. I really am.
He's got another gear. He's showing us another gear.
Brian, hope you had a great holiday. Happy New Year. We'll talk next week.
All right, go get him, Mark. Thank you.
All right, take care. You hear him every morning here on 97.1 FM Talk. Sue, we got Dave Murray jumping on here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to get updated on the weather situation. Then Nick Schroer is going to come back into the mix. He was nice enough to hang out for a little bit. He was on the Roundtable earlier. The legislative session in Jeff City starts next week. Senator Schroer has some thoughts on that. A new governor in Mike Kehoe. So we'll cover that. And I started to talk. Let's see if I have time to do this before Dave jumps on, because I was mentioning Corey DeAngelis in this string, and I would highly recommend, if you don't follow me, go to @Mark Reardon KFTK. You don't even have to follow, but look at what Corey wrote about Jana Parker, who is the new superintendent in Webster Groves. And let me just say this, and this is what I tweeted. It is Webster, so we shouldn't be shocked by this at all. But he features a couple of Ibram Kendi quotes that she retweets. No one becomes not racist, despite a tendency by Americans to identify themselves that way. We can only strive to be anti-racist. So this is the nonsense that has infected education throughout this country. We've tried to eradicate it. Corey, who is a big school choice supporter, has done a really good job at exposing it and trying to eradicate it. But, I mean, if you go into her tweets from years ago, white fragility is everywhere, but does anti-racism training work? It's time for white people to understand their whiteness. She was retweeting a Time magazine piece. As a white educator, we have a responsibility to not be colorblind. While you may think the intent is positive, the impact has significant consequences. So what I would say, even though I'm outraged by this nonsense because kids are falling behind in schools, you have serious issues with education, but they're going to hire the white guilty woman as superintendent in Webster because all the do-gooders on the board think that that's the way that they should go, even though the country has rejected this nonsense. And we saw that pretty clearly in the past couple of months. But congratulations, Webster Groves. I'm sure Kirkwood will follow suit. Dave Murray, are you there? Well, there's an alarm. Let's see if I got him locked in. There you go. Take two.
There
Dave,
we are.
how are you?
There
Sorry
we
about
are.
that. Hi, Dave. How are you?
That's good. I'm always lurking in the background.
So, as you know, St. Louis, and I guess this happens elsewhere, but man, the grocery store shelves, they are bare this afternoon, Dave.
It's gone because you can never have enough French toast during a winter storm.
Yeah. So you talked about this yesterday. I think the biggest concern that Sue and I have is we don't like ice. And a lot of people like snow we might be able to handle. But where are we with the track of this storm right now?
Yeah, right now, the storm itself still has not come across the Pacific Northwest coast. It will by about 9 o'clock tonight. Then it will track over the northern Rockies and get torn apart, which is what the mountains do. And then it will use that energy that's left to go out into the central plains and spin itself together into a low-pressure system. And that will take place pretty close to the Texas Panhandle. And again, once that happens, then we have a really good idea of what the track of this is going to go. But with that in mind, that's where I'm going to put the low, and that's when I can really track this thing out based on layers of the atmosphere and atmospheric conditions and the dynamics and synoptics that are going on. So the ideas from yesterday haven't changed a heck of a lot other than that we are now in a winter storm warning, where the watch has been dropped. Its warning's in effect, which means this thing, to some extent, is going to happen. It's from 10 o'clock Saturday night until 6 a.m. on Monday morning. Tonight is dry. Saturday is dry. Saturday evening is dry. It will be cold, but nothing out of the ordinary. Snow starts after midnight Saturday night, early Sunday morning, and fairly quickly mixing with sleet. So the focus of the system is going to be Sunday and Sunday evening, from, let's say, from early morning Sunday until midnight on Sunday. Here in St. Louis, still looking like a mix of sleet, snow, freezing rain all day on Sunday. However, I do think a dry slot is going to cut into the system from the south sometime on Sunday afternoon. What that will do is shut the moisture off for about 2 or 3 hours. A little freezing drizzle, that's probably about it. The storm's not over at that point. We're about the halfway point. Sunday evening, the mix will start up again, snow, sleet, freezing rain, changing over to a few hours of all snow mid-evening up until about midnight on Sunday. Then the storm pulls away fairly quickly. Still dealing with a fine line of all of these mixes of moisture. Across St. Louis, we're in the mix for the bulk of the storm. The snow will start, again, late Saturday night. It will start as snow, but mix in pretty quickly, and it will end as snow on the tail end of the system, backside of the system. So what I'm thinking is by midnight Sunday night, I still kind of like a single number of about 5 inches of snow and ice. However, that could include an inch of sleet on top of the snow and then snow going on top of that. And then freezing rain will also be mixed in. South of St. Louis, south of that DeSoto, Sparta, Mount Vernon line, it's all ice. It's freezing rain and sleet. Some real concerns there. Could be some power outages in those areas to the south. To the north, Columbia, Ellsbury to Carlinville. Don't want to change these lines too much. It's mainly all snow and up to about 10 inches of snow. Now, this thing will continue to get fine-tuned as it hits the northwest coast, as it gets sheared apart in the Rockies, as it comes into the plains. And I'll be perfectly honest here, this thing is going to be fine-tuning into Sunday morning as the thing gets closer and closer. And that's just what these storms do. You don't rush a forecast and you don't rush a winter storm. We have to let it play out, and then we'll get some much better ideas. Though I like these ideas right now, and I'm a really stubborn forecaster. So to get me to change these ideas will be pretty tough. And that's just the way I'm going to stick with it right now until I don't have to stick with it.
Well, and you know,
Monday morning is going to be a mess.
Yeah, Sue's already looking forward to that. Yeah. She can't wait. But the ice is really, you know, what I think worries a lot of people. You talk about power outages. I even got a text message, a preemptive strike from my friends at Spectrum. We're preparing for potential service outages during the storm. Visit spectrum.net storm prep for info. What do I have to prep for? Not having my internet for 3 days? I guess. Right. You've done that all summer, Spectrum. Congratulations.
You're so used to that, Mark.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my gosh. Dave, it kind of sounds like a winter trifle, right? So you get a little ice and then snow,
I like that.
And then more ice on top of it, and then more snow, and then
more snow, right?
Okay, and then when is it warm enough to melt any of this stuff?
I'm glad you brought that up because we got single-digit lows next week, right?
Yeah, and it'll probably be upper single digits. I don't see us going below zero. However, with a fresh coat of snow and ice, it allows temperatures to drop down a little bit more.
Oh, 8 degrees is just perfectly fine. Now that it's not going to be zero. Are you kidding me?
That's right. No, that's a big difference. That's a big difference.
It is.
And the wind will be limited, too, so that's good news. Though with this storm, there'll be some wind.
Yeah.
But all next week, all during the work week, it will be cold enough to keep this stuff around for quite a while. I don't see anything really behind it. I don't see, as far as a storm is concerned, I don't see another reload of cold air. So hopefully temperatures, once we get through next week, will start to rebound on us.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for all the updates. We'll see where this winter storm they named this thing, too, didn't they? Isn't there a name to it?
Really?
I don't do that.
Oh, okay.
Thank God.
But I saw
Don't make me say that stuff. Don't make me say words that I don't want to say.
And I appreciate that, Dave Murray. This is why we love you. Happy New Year, Dave. Thank you so much for the update.
Thanks, Dave.
You got it. I'll keep you up to date all weekend.
Thank you very much. Yeah, keep it tuned to 97.1 FM Talk. Well, you know, you're just in that situation where things can change. I think that's one of the messaging. One of the messages that we heard from Dave there. I still always follow this rule. when 3 or 4 days before a storm, they say 5 to 8 inches. It ain't going to be much in the end. So when Jane left here and she was asking if she should go to the store, my advice, and this is not Dave's advice, is you're going to be able to go at like 11 o'clock Sunday morning because this thing's not going to really happen.
I don't think so,
Yeah.
Mark. I think this one
Well, we're
will
gonna get
actually
ice.
happen.
We are going to get ice.
And
stuff.
I have a new plan. I was going to go to the grocery store when I leave here. I think I'm going to get up early since I can, since I'm me, and if 6 o'clock is sleeping in, and go early. Huh?
Well,
what are your
because
thoughts?
I think that's a better idea because here's one of my thoughts just from seeing some of the pictures. I think they might have to. Dave talked about
Restock.
reloading. They're going to have to reload some of those
Yeah,
aisles.
you're right about that.
Sue, I will bring you some bread if you need it.
Thank you.
And some milk as well. But hey, let's get ready for it. Now I'm. This is, I guess, maybe I like snow. I don't
do-
like ice.
Yeah.
But if we're going to have snowstorm, let's get a few inches so the kids can go out and play. I'll play with the dogs. Love the snow. You know that school that's right over by where you live, the other side of Holly Hills. No, not St. Stephen's. Maybe it is St. Stephen's. The Catholic or the.
Yeah.
So there's that big parking lot there from that
Yeah.
school. And you could probably even still do this because we put it on YouTube. My lab Chase, who passed away like 4 years ago, but we took him over there and it was his first snow. And I think if you
Oh,
Google
my.
Chase's first snow, you'll see my lab running around. It probably has like 13 views
How
or something
cute
like that. But
is that?
used to have so much fun. All my dogs have had fun in the snow. They love it.
That's good. Bulldogs are like, what is happening?
Well, and I can relate to that. And Sue, I've told you this. So when I lived in Milwaukee, that's when I had Newt, my bulldog. And the one winter that stands out, and I don't remember what year it was, but in the month of December, we had 53 inches of snow. The month of December. Yeah. So I'm out there with the snow thrower. I got a snow thrower, not a blower. You got to have a thrower.
Wow.
And I had to carve out swaths in the backyard
So
and the front yard for the dogs.
Yes.
We had a Cocker Spaniel at the time, and then
low
Newt,
to the
they're both low to
ground.
the ground, right? So they needed some help.
Wow.
And the weird thing about that winter is, and I joked about this a couple of weeks ago, because when we got that snow 2 weeks ago, it seemed like more snow than we had the entire year last year. In that month of December with 53 inches of snow, it barely even snowed anymore the rest of the winter, but that stuff stayed there. I mean, in
forever.
Wisconsin, the snow stays till about July 4th.
See, that's just it. I'll take 5-8 inches of snow if it melts within 2 days.
Yeah.
And there's no ice.
Because when you see the parking lots that still have snow in May, I'd say that's a little bit of a problem, right? We don't want that. I like global warming from Missouri for sure. We used to have more storms, remember?
Yeah, we
Back
did.
in the day, as they say. Nick Schroer coming up, State Senator. He was on the Roundtable. Going to get caught up on the new legislative session and a whole lot more. Talk a little crime in St. Louis. That's unique.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
On the roads, I just turned up my headphones the wrong way and blasted myself.
Oh, I've done
I
it.
hate
I've done
that.
it.
Anyway, if you are up north, 270 is jammed in both directions at the Chain of Rocks Bridge. They are doing some road work and shifting of lanes and bridges. And we've got eastbound traffic backed up past 367, westbound traffic backed up to 203. And there's only one lane open in each direction. Now, westbound 70 looks fine out of downtown. 64, some moderate volume at Hampton. Eastbound is a slow go. Now, this is approaching the Poplar Street Bridge to about Route 3 before it looks better. But the approach is better. At one point, it was at Jefferson. It's pretty far east of there now. 55 looks good despite the road work. And, yeah, really, we're in good shape with those exceptions. There was a jam on eastbound 64 on the Illinois side headed for 159. Whatever was there has been cleared, and things are thinning out. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, need a little music here to set the scene here, as it's going to be really cold, too. So let's think about warm times in Greece this spring. Actually, we're going to Greece in April and May, and it's not going to be too hot. That's one thing that Mike Kenny, my awesome tour guide from Defined Destinations, has pointed out. So the Mark Reardon Show is going back to Greece this year. We went to Spain in 2023, had a great trip with Mike and a bunch of listeners from here in St. Louis. Some of those folks are back on board for this trip. Mike told me 2 days ago we've added another cabin, so we have 2 cabins left. That's it. This is a very, very exclusive ship. We go to Athens. We start in Athens for a couple of days, go on a beautiful cruise ship that only holds 197 passengers. So very intimate, but you need the cruise ship because we're going to start visiting islands all over Greece, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a magical trip. We're going to focus on food and fun. There's a ton of free time. One of the things that people have told me about the Spain trip is even though we have structured time where we're going to see some of the sites, and there's an advantage to having a tour guide like Mike because he's got experience, he's got the ins, and you don't have to wait in as long lines. But the other thing is just the expertise that he brings to the experience, and there's a lot of free time. So outside of the structured stuff, plenty of free time to do things, to have a meal or do whatever. It's going to be a fun trip. April 27th through May 7th. We're heading to Greece. DefinedDestinations.com. Or the easiest way might be just go to my Twitter page, at Mark Reardon, KFTK. At the very top, I have pinned the details of the tweet. Come to Greece with us in 2025.
Wow, this year has flown by, and now you're planning to sell your home. You know, like you, most families have been waiting on the sidelines. Well, now the timing is better, but you still have questions, right? Hey, Mark Cox here from my friend and trusted realtor, Gloria Liu, with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. I've been telling you about Gloria Liu for years now. Why? Because Gloria Liu is St. Louis real estate expert, and if you have a home to sell, you need to get to know her like I have. I've seen her systems, her guarantees. I've even met her clients. In fact, I'm also a client. She's different than any other realtor, and if you need help selling your home for the most money, you need to do what I did. Call Gloria Liu. Here's another tip. If you have a home to sell in Crestwood, Shaw, Maplewood, the Central West End, you must give Gloria Liu a call. Take it from me and call my friend Gloria Liu at 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show at 5:33 sponsored by our friends at Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
97.1 FM Talk presents Talk in Action, where we shine a spotlight on local charities making a difference in our community. Join us as we give back and connect neighbors in need. Visit 971talk.com/talkinaction to learn more. Mark Reardon on St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
Well, Nick Schroer has been nice enough. He was on the Roundtable earlier. I thought we'd kind of catch up with him here in the 5 o'clock hour to talk about next week and beyond in the legislature. Senator, how are you?
Wonderful. Trying to stay here until traffic's done.
Well, it's very nice of you, and Sue will guide you home along the way here on this Friday afternoon. You know, I hadn't seen you in a long time before the Roundtable earlier this afternoon, but I have to start with something very important that's near and dear to both of our hearts, and that's hunting in Howard County, Missouri. Yeah. Did you have success this year?
I didn't even get a chance to go out.
You didn't get a chance to go out?
I had family members go out. A huge deer, it was about a 14-point, right across the street from our property was taken. Amazing deer. So, you know, I still have 2 freezers that are full of beef and venison and all of that. But, yeah, I didn't get a chance. I was at different conferences. Our good friend Gene Evans got me to be the only one selected from Missouri to go to a education choice conference in California. So most of hunting season I was spending getting ready for session.
Terrible. That's terrible.
I know.
I hate to hear that. Well, you know, I got skunked again this year. I think it's been 4 years since I've shot a deer. Now, my daughter went out during the doe season, and she had never shot a deer. We got her ready over the summer, and she shot a button buck. She had a real nice buck that was staring at us for like 7 or 8 minutes. Couldn't shoot it because it was does only. Of course, that happens. But she reminds me weekly, Daddy, you haven't shot a deer in 4 years, and I got one this year. That's a constant reminder. But I'm glad that your freezer is full. And that was funny. We kind of recognized this about one another after we got to know each other, that we do hunt in relatively the same spot in Howard County near Fayette and Harrisburg, right?
Yeah, we've got the City Lake out there where we pass. I went to Central Methodist for 2 years because we've had a family farm out there, played football, acted out there. But I'd say the wildlife and the scenery is second to none in Missouri.
I love that part of the state. And, you know, I do feel passionately as a proponent of Missouri. And I've lived in Missouri longer than any place else. I've lived in the Chicago area. I don't like to admit that, Nick. Wisconsin. But I lived in Boone County and Columbia for 13 years. 3 of those were when I was in college. But I think our state has a lot of great parts of it. You know, you look at Augusta and the wine country here. If you go down to Table Rock and those areas, I mean, there's a lot. And I think a lot of people around the country don't anticipate. They think of Illinois or they think of St. Louis as flat because the metro is pretty flat. Right. But there's so much great beauty beyond that.
Well, even, I mean, anything you want to do, whether it's music, I'm a huge country music, outlaw country music guy. In the history of country music, Nashville versus Southern Missouri. And that's where the home of country music should have been, in the Branson area. But we've got, tons of music down there, tons of golf courses. Tiger Woods has a golf course down there.
I have yet to play that. I had an invite, the year it opened, and I couldn't get down there, so it's on my bucket list.
It's beautiful.
Sure.
I mean, all of the different courses down there. Johnny Morris, Bass Pro, what he's done to our state. We're getting onto the next level. And, the thing that's really lacked is leadership from the political world. And I'm really, really excited to jump into here with a governor that is prioritizing basically everything that I want to prioritize, and that's getting crime out of here, dealing with the crime in the city of St. Louis, the recidivism rates with crime in the city of St. Louis, recruitment, retention with police, education, taxes. We want to kind of look at what other states have done, like Tennessee and Florida and Texas. And it's a conservative agenda, which has attracted more businesses, more people there. And hopefully we can take it to the next level and start competing with all the states around us.
It sounds to me, getting to know Governor Kehoe just a little bit here, that he's willing to go big and bold if the opportunity presents itself, right?
Yeah, and that's something that my entire time in the legislature, we really haven't had that. It's been like crickets from the governor's office. And for whatever reason, whether it was Greitens or Parson, we've really needed leadership from the top to work with the leadership in the Senate and leadership in the House. And we've seen how dysfunctional this has been with a supermajority Republican Party. And it's depressing going back home and hearing the same story from constituents, especially personal property taxes or income taxes. And these are things that Governor Kehoe has seen, he's heard, and he's got solutions right now. He's been working with a lot of different groups, and it just so happens that the Freedom Caucus's priorities, which we're going to release on Monday, coincide 100% with what the governor's wanting.
Nice. Senator Nick Schroer is here. Let's kind of focus in on one of those aspects, because the personal property tax issue is very easy for all of us, everyone listening. Even those of you in Illinois, you don't pay personal property tax, but you have maybe higher regular property tax. But it's been something that's been so confounding to me for years. And when I lived in Wisconsin before I came back here in the mid-2000s, we didn't have to deal with that up there. And then I was reminded, and the other thing that's annoying, it's not only that you got to pay for this every year, but these license offices are such a scam, right? Yeah. I mean, they're independently owned. I can't even remember the history of that when it was all put into place, but it's real frustrating. Now, what the proponents of confiscating your income from you would say is, well, if you get rid of the personal property tax, we have to fill that revenue hole. So, because that's all that money. Where's that money going to go or come from, right, Nick?
Well, let's look at Kansas, for example. Kansas did it the wrong way. They cut taxes and they kept spending like bandits. And what we need to do is several items. I think, Governor Kehoe and the Freedom Caucus both have this mindset of, let's start looking at some of these areas where new revenue's coming in, whether it's marijuana, gambling, sports betting, you name it. There are a lot of different new areas, new arenas where revenue's coming in. Instead of using that for new stuff, let's start looking at getting rid of real estate tax, personal property tax, income tax. And there are different ways to do it. Do you increase taxes elsewhere? There have been talks with the income tax of increasing sales tax somewhere. And I think all of us are open to repealing or phasing out a lot of these taxes: personal property tax, real estate tax, income tax, capital gains tax. These are all things that add up. And ultimately, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or if you're an older American, older Missourian, you just can't afford it.
Well, there was just a story, and I don't know how this specifically applies to our area, but I remembered this from when I was in Wisconsin. There's these big houses that are along Lake Michigan. And, it was one of those situations up there where if you're on Lake Michigan, you got a big house, it's a mansion, right? And then about a block from the lake, it's a big house, but it's, not as big. And then a couple of blocks away, more modest. And I bring it up because what was happening up there, and this is, I think I read this in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal, there are now more people in this country that are paying more for their principal, or less for their principal and interest, more for their taxes in escrow than they are for their principal. And in Wisconsin, it priced a lot of people out. You had people that were in a situation where they owned their home outright, but they had to pay $20,000 a year in taxes. They're retired. They didn't have the ability to afford that. So that's something that does exist right now.
Well, even some of the small homes in my district, we've got older parts of O'Fallon, Missouri, that these people have owned their homes outright, but now they're fixed income, they're retired, and they can't afford it. So they're selling their house and trying to move in with family. Look, if this is truly the land of the free, we need to respect home ownership and start tackling these issues of taxation. That's the more free states like Arkansas, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, they're actually attracting more businesses and more people to go there. I mean, there's
opportunities.
There are
really big opportunities, and I'm glad to hear that. So let's kind of broaden it out to the rest of the session. What are your priorities? What else do you think might happen coming up here?
Well, crime through and through. That's what my undergraduate degree was in criminology, criminal justice. And we've got to do a better job of tackling the two biggest areas in St. Louis and Kansas City when it comes to crime. Well, how do we do that? Let's listen to the people on the ground. And currently, there's a massive mismanagement of the police in the city of St. Louis. There have been talks on a hybrid version of the state control, which puts it back, allowing the governor to put people on certain boards to control the police. And right now, I think that there's a very good chance we could come up with a deal within the first couple weeks, couple months of session, moving it to a citizen board control where the people on the ground, citizens within the city of St. Louis, will be able to get on this board and represent the police and what is going to be best for them.
It's so frustrating because, we talked about this on the Roundtable. You had the shooting that was just a few blocks away from here at the Wheelhouse and crickets from City Hall. I mean, Tashara acts like none of this is impacting anyone. And I see it all the time because I work right down here. And I had somebody pop off on Twitter saying, I live downtown. I've never felt unsafe. I'd love to know where that person lives. I walk all the time from here to Busch Stadium, whether it's in the day, even in the daytime. I've had incidents where I don't feel safe. Certainly the path, I'm basing this on where we are geographically right now, but if you go over to the other side of Tucker and where Stiefel is and Enterprise, there have been people that have been killed in that intersection. So it's infuriating. You have more and more people.
The disregard for any law down here. I mean, even at a stoplight, when I get a green light, you have to wait for a couple seconds and look both ways. And I always go back to that Drake concert that was here into last year.
Yeah, where the person was the mother and daughter.
The mother and daughter from Chicago, the tourists that were here, and you go back even before then. Janae, I forget what her name was, Edmondson, who was ran over and now
lost her leg.
Yeah, so
and her livelihood.
Looking at areas that have done it right and gotten a tackle on crime. Most notably, I was in Nashville, Tennessee. Mizzou was just there. We kicked ass in the.
Did you go to the bowl game?
Bowl. I did not.
Okay.
I did not. But I watched the whole thing. It was phenomenal.
Fun. Yeah.
But how did they tackle crime? They saturated the streets with trained police in a community policing fashion. And that's what we got to get back to. I mean, certain cities have done it right.
Miami's even. Tim Pitch has told me how Miami has attracted a lot of officers and really done it right. So,
I mean, when you feel safe, you're going to open your business here. You're going to spend your money here. And that's what we've really missed out on. And, if St. Louis City goes, the entire state's going to suffer.
So let me touch on a topic here that is near and dear to my heart. Actually, I hate it. It's initiative petition reform. And when we say IP reform, I always think that people think it's the Internet Protocol. But that was something that was attempted.
I think intellectual property.
That too, right? Yeah, exactly. So what can we explain that to the audience, and is that even an issue right now? Because we have these constitutional amendments. We had an example of this with the gaming amendment. You supported, I supported, barely passed, but some people think the threshold for passing something like that or any constitutional amendment should be higher, right?
I do think it should be higher, especially, look at Amendment 3, the pro-abortion amendment. $30+ million came in. 95% of it was out of state. $3.5 million came in from somebody that's not even in this country. So the threshold should be higher. I think if you're going to change our Constitution statutorily, I personally am, look, if the legislature can go back and make tweaks to it, whatever. But if you're putting it in our Constitution, there should be some stronger thresholds.
I agree.
Is it going to be a big issue? Yeah, it's going to still be a big issue. However, looking at what the Republicans are going to want to address, and that's clarifying some of the issues or going back and putting something back on the ballot regarding pro-life or the abortion amendment. Do you want to do it under the current framework, or do you want to make it tougher on yourselves? And that's a struggle that I think we're going to have this year, is addressing it, but maybe offsetting it for a couple of years, so we do have that opportunity to put something back on the ballot and take advantage of the loose rules that we have.
Where's your leadership in the Senate right now? What committees?
I don't know. The committees have not been doled out yet. I think it's going to be doled out on either Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Presently, without talking about this next session. Presently, I'm on the vice chairman of Judiciary, Tony Lutkemeyer, who was the chair. He just elevated to floor leader. So that does have an opening for one of the most powerful committees, Judiciary. And that's something that I am gunning for with my priorities lying with public safety.
Right, absolutely. It's a good fit. Nick, Happy New Year. Thanks for coming in for the roundtable. Great to see you. And MIZ, how about that?
ZOU, baby.
And I surrender. And I surrender. I'm on the last train running. I'm on the last train running. And I surrender. And I surrender. I'm on the last train running.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we still have a jam up north. If you are traveling on 270 eastbound into Illinois, it's a jam that goes back through 367 from about the chain of Roxbridge. They're doing some road work and switching some lanes, and we've got a jam in both directions. So westbound 270 is lined up back to 203, down to one lane there in both directions. Now, westbound 70, a little bit slow at 141, a report of an incident there. Eastbound 70 is slowing as you approach Jennings Station Road. Downtown, some volume on the Poplar Street Bridge eastbound. That's all due to road work. And eastbound is also a little slow at Big Bend, but westbound looks fine. And that's from downtown all the way out past Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now, there was an earlier incident, and this was on southbound 270, south of 21, but it was an accident and they moved it off to the shoulder, and it's really not causing a delay anymore. This report is brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. From windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, outdoor spaces, they deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you're trying to sell a home, there's only one agent in town that I trust, Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. My friends Mark and Neil have the best system to connect you to the best qualified buyers, getting your home sold fast and for top dollar. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Sue, what's the deal with brick houses in St. Louis? Like, we really have a lot more brick houses than other areas, don't we?
Yes. History of the Lou has taught me this.
There we go. We go.
We made our own brick with our clay. Back when St. Louis was first founded into the 1800s, we had brick manufacturers and clay manufacturers. We took our own clay, made it into brick, and that's why we have all these brick homes.
So that's great news. The bad news is sometimes those bricks don't last for like 100 years or 150 years, so you have to have them repaired. This is why I brought it up. Morelli Tuck Pointing is where you should turn for your repairs. Maybe it's just a brick chimney that needs work or a brick mailbox. If you go to MorelliTuckPointing.com, click on the gallery. You'll see pictures. I like to call it the little swipey thing. They have a great function up there where you can see what the brickwork looked like when it was falling apart before John and Cindy and the team at Morelli Tuck Pointing went to work, and then the after where it looks absolutely perfect. So if you have an entire wall that's falling apart, you have a chimney that needs repair, whatever the project is, the masonry experts here in St. Louis, Morelli Tuck Pointing, 314-645-1387, online, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
The election is finally over. Now you can get the cash you need. This is James Hawkins, president of Golden Oak Lending. Did you know that today the average homeowner has over $200,000 in equity? Imagine what you could do with just $50,000 of that equity. Pay off your credit cards, do home improvements, or even pay off your auto loans. Golden Oak's mortgage rate is 5.25%. We have no fee to apply and no out-of-pocket costs. If you call today, you can get your cash in as little as 14 days and make no payments until next year. Don't forget our appraisal guarantee. If for any reason your loan doesn't close, we will pay for your appraisal. Call today and take advantage of our 5.25 fixed rate. But don't wait, this rate won't last forever. Call 314-567-GOLD. That's 314-567-GOLD.
Golden Oak Landing cured my blues.
6.19 APR, FHA, 15-year, 20% equity qualified credit. Additional terms apply. NMLS 114937.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Monday, they're promising Snowmageddon, but we'll be here live along with Sue Thomas to get you to work starting at 5 a.m.
The Mark Cox Morning Show, weekdays from 5 to 9, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Yeah, that's one of those days where Sue will start traffic in the morning, and the same traffic report will be on by the time my show takes the air,
Yeah,
right? It's
pretty
going to be
much.
a busy morning. The only good thing is I think a lot of people are just going to stay home.
I
Because
think
we've had so much advance warning, and let's face it, the schools are likely to be off unless this thing takes a complete and total, you know what. But
Yeah.
Dave Murray is saying 5 inches. We've heard, estimates up to 10 inches. I think he's keeping it kind of conservative right now. But the real story is the ice, and the ice could be significant. So stay tuned to Dave's forecast all weekend long on 97.1 FM Talk. I got a couple of audio cuts that I haven't gotten to, so let's wind it all in here.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
All right, I didn't really get this one, and there's a lot of attention being given to the guy who runs Allstate, Tom Wilson. He's the CEO of Allstate Insurance, and they had the Sugar Bowl yesterday. And the Allstate folks are the official corporate sponsor of the game, which was at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. And, of course, it got canceled because of what happened on the French Quarter with the terrorist attack.
Right.
So before the game, now, again, I'm not sure what this was all about, but Tom Wilson goes on, and this message is delivered on national television and on social media.
Welcome to the Allstate Sugar Bowl. Wednesday, tragedy struck the New Orleans community. Our prayers are with the victims and their families. We also need to be stronger together by overcoming an addiction to divisiveness and negativity. Join Allstate working in local communities all across America to amplify the positive, increase trust, and accept people's imperfections and differences. Together, we win.
So the part that's getting attention is we need to overcome an addiction to divisiveness and negativity and accept people's imperfections and differences. How does that match up with a terrorist attack? Now, I'm thinking, kind of think through this here. Was this something that they wrote? They wanted to deliver a message, apparently a DEI message, the message that failed during the election, and we had to fine-tune it because of the terrorist attack, because I don't think it really went well together. So that's drawing a lot of attention on social media just because it seemingly was awkward. All right, then we'll move to this afternoon. I want this to be my audio cut of the day from Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, come on.
We will fight hard for the freedom to vote.
Yeah, he said fart hard. But Mike Johnson was elected as Speaker today.
The path of prosperity has long been paved with policies that put America and Americans first. And that is what we will champion in the 119th Congress. We have a mandate, and that was shown in the election cycle. The people want an America first agenda. They do. But in recent months, we've witnessed something happening, something that's really remarkable, a political moment in our modern history. A groundswell of Americans from every state, race, and religion who now demand that we put the interest of Americans first again, and we will.
So for people who missed it earlier, we covered this extensively during the Reardon Roundtable. You can always use the Odyssey Rewind action and go back and listen to the 3 o'clock hour. Jane was on the panel, former Senator Jeff Smith, and current State Senator Nick Schroer, who was just visiting with us. But Mike Johnson was reelected as House Speaker. It didn't look like it was going to happen on the first vote. The votes were cast. He did not have it. I don't know what was cut. There might have been some deal making, but a couple of members came back in and they changed their vote, and he wins the Speaker's race. So now you move forward. You have the agenda set. Trump was certainly supportive of Mike Johnson. He gave the speech today in the chamber.
We're also witnesses to the providence that spared our incoming president, President Trump, from the assassin's bullet, remarkable as that was, and to the new coalition of Americans that has risen from every creed, color, and cul-de-sac who want us to put America first. It is time now to reinstate fear in our enemies, refocus our mission on lethality, and realign our commitment to peace through strength now.
I still don't know a lot about Mike Johnson. He's been there a year. Nobody really knew him before he sort of was the de facto speaker in the aftermath of what happened with Kevin McCarthy. One of the concerns that I had heading into the election cycle about Speaker Johnson was he didn't know how to fundraise. So, this is one of the roles that a Speaker of the House has, going around to other congressional districts to raise money so members can be elected. I'm told he did a pretty good job with that, and I think there's been a learning curve. What I do know is that this would not be a good way to start this administration, with a different speaker and more chaos.
Right.
So I'm excited that they got that done, because I think they needed to. And I think what Bob Onder told me yesterday really sums up a lot. He goes, look, I wasn't crazy about what happened with the CR. but we need to work on this agenda, and the American people want to see to work, and that's what they're going to do. So we have that behind us. That's a good thing. Have a great weekend. Corey DeAngelis, Monday, 3:25. We'll talk about the kooky new hire for the Webster Grove School District Superintendent. That's a doozy. Wait till you hear all that. That's coming up on Monday. Sue, have a great weekend.
You too.
If you missed anything, podcast The Mark Reardon Show at 971talk.com. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
We've got an accident reported southbound 270 south of 21, but it's on the shoulder, so it's really not causing any kind of serious issue. If you are traveling on 270 up north, though, it's a mess. There's road work. We're down to one lane, east and westbound 270, kind of between the Canal and Chain of Rocks bridges. And we've got westbound traffic jammed to 203. Eastbound is jammed back through 367. A little bit of volume eastbound 70 into downtown approaching Jennings Station Road. And eastbound 64 from approaching 170 through Big Bend. And westbound, we had a report of an incident near 141, so 70 westbound slow back through 270. Out west, we actually look pretty good. Southbound 170, because of the volume on eastbound 40, that's a little slow, back to about the Forest Park Parkway. Other than that, we're good. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
What's it going to take for you to realize the IRS is in full-blown attack mode, and if you have IRS issues, your timely response is critical? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We certainly know the IRS has ramped up efforts because we're seeing a lot more clients with threats of intents to seize property or levy rights to property. If you have IRS issues, call the Lance Drury Firm today. Today, don't wait. Those IRS notices have hard deadlines for exercising your appeal rights. If you miss the deadline, your rights to a legal appeal are gone. Let the Lance Drury Law Firm get between you and the IRS today, and we'll help you manage your case to achieve the best outcome. IRS problems are serious legal matters, so call Lance Drury Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Don't wait. Call 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120, and schedule your free consultation with me, Lance Drury, or visit DRURYlaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Filtering the BS pushed by the mainstream media.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
97.1 FM Talk. KFTK FM Florissant. From the